Okay, let's find out if that worked. Hello to any and all who may or may not be seeing this. Yeah, see, I don't love that it didn't save the... So this just means I'm going to have to... Oh, I'm going to have to add the thumbnail before I go live in the future, which is fine. Just if I'm doing multi-stream, that is good to know. Where was I just... Where did I find this? Here it is. Okay, now we should have a thumbnail. Hello! Okay, we do have people in the chat. And I can't tell... Okay, I see. I have a multi-stream chat, which doesn't seem to be showing anything. I see a YouTube chat. Am I also live on Twitch? That's the question. It says I am. Do I have a chat for Twitch? Hello. Hello, Ryder77. Hello, Plasma Based. Hello, Nick. Hello, Coffee C. Okay, and chat is appearing on screen. I don't know how legible that is. Okay, I have somebody in my Twitch chat. Hello, Ace Alchemist. Is it not bringing over? Okay, and Ace Alchemist is showing up on the YouTube chat, on the chat that's appearing on YouTube. So that's good. Why? So really the only way I can see everybody's chats is if I just look at the screen. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to pop out the screen because I think that's going to be the best way. Or make it full screen. How do I do that again? Create scene projector. There we go. Okay. Now I should be able to read. Okay, cool. That'll work. I can read chat. Hello. Okay. Hello, Coffee C. Hello, Ruben. Hello, Ace. Hello, Biking Viking. Hello, Maruccio. Or Yeah, Maruccio? Yeah. Hello, Castific. Man, I think I might have to change the color of how this appears. But for now, this will work. Hello, Peachy Puff. Hello, Eli. Hello, Name Will Be Taken. Welcome. Yes, this is a satisfying Saturday. Bit of a test, but also I am... Ooh. I need to change the way that is showing up on the screen. Hold on. There we go. I'm on the wrong one. Let's make this just a little bit larger. That's what she said. Why did that not change? Did it not change? There we go. Okay, it's working. You want to start running a game? You hope watching my process for session prep will help you with it. Well, yes. So actually, this is partially... Hello, everybody. This is partially a test to see if I can do multi-streaming. And I wish it was showing me who is joining from which stream. Okay. Multi-stream chat is working now. Okay. It seems to have taken a second, but it did get working. Okay, well, we got there. That's what's important. I am trying to do a little bit more streaming over the next couple of months. And so we're testing some things out. I'm hoping I have a meeting with Spectrum next week. Someone from Spectrum is coming over. They may make a recommendation for a new router because we are not getting the internet points that we really ought to be getting. But depending on how it goes, I would love to start streaming some Baldur's Gate soon. I just don't feel super confident right now about streaming a video game. So, I mean, I could maybe do Hades. I think Baldur's Gate's going to be a little more taxing, especially also streaming to YouTube. I think this is probably... not something I've done before with multiple streams at a time. I just feel safer having talked to Spectrum first. But today we are not just testing the stream to see how it looks. We are also doing some session prep. And the reason for that is because this is going to be the subject of an upcoming video. At the end of maybe late March, I've got a video coming out that's about session prep. And I think it would just be fun to show you my process. I was writing a script and I was like, wait, this would just be way easier if I just... filmed myself doing it, and then I can cut it down if I want to, or I can jump in with lessons. But also, hopefully it is interesting and fun to watch me prep. So Cassific, you did ask if this is going to be Curse of Strahd prep, and it is. So make your choices accordingly. Sandy, you've never watched Stream Gaming, and you watched that? Yeah, I am really hoping to do some Baldur's Gate streaming soon. I'm also, fiddling with these settings. This is all still up in the air. Kim, you say using Google Docs for session prep feels wrong. Well, that's as good a place to start as any. I like using Google Docs because it's just really, really easy for me. I know Google Docs really well, and I don't have that many demands when it comes to session prep. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the process. Cassific, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you can be here for the next one. So I'm probably going to stream my prep for Shadow Dark sometime this week. And even though it's a different system, I think the lessons there will still be really useful. I have a lot of prep to do for that next session. But I'm not doing that today. Or if I am, I'll no, I'm not doing that today. Hans, yes, you said Baldur's Gate 3, sweet. Hades is also awesome. Yeah, I might do a Hades test stream a little later today or tomorrow or Monday. I just want to get some settings figured out before I jump into Baldur's Gate. This is way too far away from me. Let's adjust that. Sandy, you are playing in Curse of Strahd for streaming. Well, have a ton of fun, and I will catch up with you next time. Gia, welcome. Ruben, you said Mike playing honor mode for Baldur's Gate 3 would be fascinating. I don't even know what that is. We'll find out, I'm sure. So I'm just going to take you through the process. I'm getting ready for a game tomorrow. This is one of my Curse of Strahd campaigns. And first thing I do is I just make a copy of the last session notes, and I jump in and I rename it, and I'm going to title this, what is tomorrow, the 3rd? And I'm going to come up with a name. Now, why do I include a name in my D&D work? That is so difficult, because I don't necessarily know what my players are going to do in the next session. So how exactly am I going to come up with a name for it? And that's kind of the essence of session prep for me is, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but I need to have something. And if I have some idea of what the players can expect to happen, then at the very least, A, they know that they can trust me. They know that there's a plan in place. And B, I'm coming into this with some idea of what narrative beat we're going to hit. Because as you're going to see with my prep, we have a ton of narrative emphasis in my prep, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, for this one, it's going to be really easy. So for those who are familiar with Curse of Strahd, if you're not a big deal, they're leaving Vallaki and they're about to go to the crossroads, and they're going to meet up with some elves who they've basically promised to go meet at the crossroads. Now, for those who are interested in playing Curse of Strahd, I would really recommend either clicking away, or you should just become a dungeon master, because it's fun, because being a dungeon master is awesome. While you have a chance, I want to make sure people have a chance to step away. I'm going to just catch up on the chat. Name will be taken. You're still trying to wrap your head around Pathfinder 2e mechanics, so this will be nice to have in the background. Yeah, this is a 5e prep, but I'm sure just hanging out will be a lot of fun. Plasma-based session prep. You do need help with that now that you're trying to become a DM for your girlfriend, or that's fantastic. I hope you have a ton of fun. It is a lot of fun. Kim Langawig said you're taking this to do some prep too. Perfect. Hope you enjoy it. Oh, hope you enjoy Pathfinder 2e. The party avoids TPK. Send the fear. Yes, so that is the thing. I have definitely had some. I mean, you saw this chapter title. Sometimes the chapter titles are pretty ominous. Okay, I'm hoping that we have anyone who is currently playing or looking forward to only playing Curse of Strahd and not interested in dungeon mastering. They are going to they have stepped away. I saw some really interesting comments that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But we are going to title this, first of all, very easy, The Crossroads. And first, I'm going to check and make sure. Have I done that before? Have I named one of these that before? I definitely have in my other Strahd game, which has gone for a lot longer. Now, the Crossroads works for a ton of reasons. One, they're literally going to the Crossroads. Two, for those who are familiar, at least this is how my Game Master ran it, and that's how I prefer to do it now that I'm running Curse of Strahd. There's always an encounter at the Crossroads. Every time. And it may not necessarily be violence, but there's always going to be something. So I know that the Crossroads will be an event. Third, they're going to meet up with the elves here, and there's definitely going to be a potential plot hook, and also they're trying to figure out where they're going to go next. So for a ton of reasons, the Crossroads is a really appropriate title. They're not going to be at the Crossroads for that long, I don't think, but I think it still works. Next, we have the list of characters. I can go ahead and mark. Trevor is not going to be absent for the next one, so we're good. I can delete this, because that was more of a note for when they're in Vallaki. But this is the introductory... Actually, I'm going to undelete that, because I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Now I have the characters up here. Now, normally, this is something that I lifted straight out of some old notes that were posted by Chris Perkins when he was running 4th edition games. This is way back on the old version of the Dungeons & Dragons website, and those articles aren't up anymore, which is a real shame, because he posted, like, dozens of articles, basically just written campaign diaries, blog posts, talking about the lessons you can learn from the games that he was running right now, which were not being streamed or anything. He was just telling you stories about his games, and it was, I felt, really, really useful. But unfortunately, as the internet goes on and websites get updated, those archives aren't there anymore. I very happily printed off a whole bunch of them. It's in the garage now, but I have a binder full of a lot of his old blogs and a couple of blogs written by other people as well. So I have some of those resources still. It's a real shame that a lot of that stuff is just lost. Pardon me. But it's a real shame that a lot of that stuff is just lost. But one thing that he did in his notes is he always opened with the characters. Now, in this case, I'm also noting the NPCs they're traveling with, because I find that in Curse of Strahd, and this may happen in other adventures as well. I think Curse of Strahd is particularly prone to doing it, but it happens on a lot of games, especially 5e has... I've talked about this before, and it will definitely be a topic for another video, but when so many NPCs have character class levels, it's very easy for the party to imagine bringing them along on adventures. Plus, it's a good reward for role-playing. Like, oh, you managed to win this person over to your side. So now they're going to roleplay with you. And literally in my other Strahd game, which I'm not doing prep for right now, but I will be doing soon, because I'm going to have to prep Castle Ravenloft for that one really soon. And I think we're going to play next weekend. But for that game, they have like 5 NPCs with them. Or 4 right now, but they're going to go rescue a 5th. So there's a lot of people traveling with them, and I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting who's in the group, so I found that I just had to add an NPCs tag. Now, if someone wasn't coming, you can just mark down absent, or you can mark them in a separate section, which may be useful to you as well. That's what Chris Perkins used to do. So he would just go something like absent characters, and then you just throw that in. And normally, this also includes the player name. Player name is very useful to include in this as well. These are, these are my notes that are going live to the internet. These are also people who I don't know personally that well. These are people who are joining through startplaying.games. So they are people who are really only paying me to Game Master. So I mainly right now know them as their characters. So for me, it is more useful just to have their names there. And if they had backgrounds, I would include those as well. If they had races, I would include those as well. Mostly that doesn't apply here, because this is the game where all the characters are people from our world. It's an Isekai story, which, for those who don't know, it's a story where people are pulled from a relatively normal world into a fantasy world. So Spirited Away, Narnia, Peter Pan, those are Isekai stories. That's one of the terms for them. Which is why somebody in the comments said, holy crap, this party is young. The whole premise of my game for Curse of Strahd is that the characters are teenagers. And one of the reasons I do that is because I find that it really helps. First of all, it's just fun. It's fun to tell people, hey, we're kind of doing Stranger Things or It or Narnia. You're playing young characters who are going to go into this fantasy world. and sort of discover magic, either that they've inherently had for reasons they don't understand, or as they're entering this magical world, they will just sort of develop magic, or they'll just become really good at fighting. It depends on what they want to do. I find that 5th edition works really well for that, especially for the way I run games and the way I run Curse of Strahd. It also, for me, helps a lot because Curse of Strahd has a lot of... Gonna treat this delicately. In the vein of fairy tales, there is a lot of minors in jeopardy in Curse of Strahd. And one of the concerns that I have is that often, when you're playing Curse of Strahd as a player, when you're running it as a game master, it starts to feel really exploitative that children are in danger. And it feels kind of strange. It can feel, not always, but it can feel really uncomfortable. It makes sense narratively for if you're doing, I don't know why I have an earbud in, I'm not playing any music right now. If you're doing a story like something inspired by Hansel and Gretel, as there is something akin to that in Strahd, there's a lot of areas where minors are in jeopardy or have been implied to have previously been in jeopardy and things did not go well for them. When they're all children, you're an adult, you can just see this in action, right? There is a major difference between It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. I'm talking about the movie adaptations. There's something very different about watching children get attacked by monsters when the main characters are also children. So aging these characters down to have them be in their late teens is really exciting to me because now suddenly that stuff doesn't feel exploitative. It just feels like the stakes, right? It feels like more naturally inherent to the story that we're telling. Weirdly, it makes it more palatable. Now, that is not to everyone's taste. There are people who I've ran this game for people before, and they were like, oh, I don't know how I feel about children being in danger, and I was like, then you may not like this campaign because that's the whole premise. You will be children because it's going to make the other children in danger feel less gratuitous. But if that's not your thing, you can absolutely change it. There are ways you can change a lot of things in Curse of Strahd that I have issues with. So that's why these characters are so young. It's also why they don't have backgrounds or races that are really relevant here, because they all are functionally humans. That's not 100% true, but we'll talk in the future more about my Curse of Strahd games another time. Not super relevant to today's topic, but it felt relevant because you're seeing their names and not a lot of detail here. Otherwise it would probably say something like, half elf. That's not how that's spelled. Elf, warlock, sage, lawful, good, something like that. Undying. That's not how that's spelled. Undying pact or undying, whatever it is. Something so I have all the relevant information there. A lot of that stuff does not apply in the game that I'm currently running. But that's how it's normally formatted. And in the video that I'm making, you will see that in action through the other games that I'm running when I put Shadow Dark, for example. All right, let me catch up on chat before I move on to the next thing. Delarka says, random European here just to tell me that I really enjoy my vids. Thank you so much. John Elliott, am I doing Mandy Mods Orphanage Edition? This is really funny. Okay, so no, I had added an orphanage to Vallaki, and then after the session, I realized there was a whole different edition that I could have used instead. And I was like, oh, well, thankfully there's some maps I can use. Now there's a fight breaking out in that orphanage, but I didn't know that was an addition. So I saw it on the map that I downloaded for Foundry. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. There's an orphanage. And then as I'm running the game, as they're going to the orphanage, I'm flipping through the book, and I'm like, where is the orphanage? This must be from some other resource, but I don't have that in front of me right now, which is fine. I already knew what I wanted to do with the orphanage, so it didn't matter. But then I'm looking it up between sessions right before the fight, because I've downloaded the map for the orphanage, and there's NPCs, and there's a demon, and I was like, what's happening here? What is this? And so then I realized there's a whole other orphanage edition that I don't know anything about. I'm not going to research it now because I'm just going to feel bad that I didn't include it. Next time I run the game, I'm going to look into it and see if I include it. John Elliott asks, have I used any other supplemental stuff from the Curse of Strahd community? I'm not going to talk a lot about that today, but I will say I have used it a lot for the other Curse of Strahd game I'm running that is in the home stretch. They're going into their final fight pretty soon. I used too much. I'm scaling back a lot for this campaign, and we're going to see about that balance. Again, I'll talk about that some more another time when I talk about the way I run Curse of Strahd, because that will be a whole other video, probably in October. But that will be, you know, we'll talk about more then. But I definitely put too much stuff into my first Curse of Strahd campaign because it ballooned, and it was really hard for me to keep track of it all. But I use some. I definitely use some. I actually have a, I can show this to you now. I have a whole binder full of, I printed off the adventure, but I also printed off a whole bunch of other resources, you know, werewolf rules and resurrection magic and different add-ons and things from Reddit. And it's, you know, too much. And I'm definitely adjusting as I run the game again. Zephy, welcome. Glad to have you here. Ryder77 says, relatively new DM here. You, sir, have been a godsend for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Delarka says, reminds everyone to like the vid. Yes, please like the vid. Name will be taken, seconds it. Zephy asks how my wife is doing. Yeah, Super Geek wife is doing well. You know, we are due in May for our little baby, and we're expecting April, to be completely honest. But right now we're due in May. So we are going to, you know, things are going well. So it's exciting. It's exciting. Gaia says, you know what Curse of Strahd reminds me of? Those old Dragon Lair arcade games where everything everywhere could potentially kill you. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable connection. Juicebox says, our group name sessions collaborative. Sorry, I put the emphasis in the wrong place. Our group names sessions collaboratively after they end. Yeah, that is absolutely reasonable. I have done that before as well. The reason I don't do it this time, the reason I don't do it in this version of my prep, is because I find it really useful to tell people at the beginning of a chapter or the beginning of an episode, here's the episode name, and it sort of like prepares them in some way. This is actually something I picked up from watching Dice Camera Action, which I have mentioned, I think, on the channel before. I think that video has come out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. When I was watching Dice Camera Action, they would have a name in advance because it was a live streamed game, but they would have opening titles, and they would have an opening title, basically. And that was... that game was being run by the guy who wrote the new version of Curse of Strahd. That was Chris Perkins' game. So he obviously knew really well what the players might do, but I think I know this game well enough at this point that I have a pretty good guess of how something is going to go. And I don't know, I remember seeing them, like, there was a level of excitement of, ooh, so this is what the session is going to be. And I've been doing it that way for a couple of years now, and I really like it. But I also have definitely run it before where we just name the session after it's over, or I'll just name it in my notes, which I think was a lot more common. And I think that works fine as well, but for the way I run, which is a very heavy emphasis on narrative, I like coming up with the names in advance because it's also kind of a challenge. Jimmy Piro says, hi, love from France. Welcome. Zooman Morgan says, having it up at the tip top also seems like a great way to panic scroll immediately to where they are in a moment of searching. That would help a lot. Yes, absolutely. It is really helpful if you need someone's name, especially the NPCs. It's all the way at the top. You don't have to worry. You don't have to wonder. You can just scroll right to it. Kim, you say you're definitely stealing having the characters' names at the top. Name will be taken says you never thought of Peter Pan as an Isekai, but it makes sense. Yep. Approaching intense emotional situations, RPing as teenager/child could be really interesting. Yeah, Aurora, it's been really wonderful. Our barbarian, you'll see here, is only 11 years old. And now, because of magic, he's using the stats of a Goliath. He's basically been transplanted into a Goliath body, but he's still emotionally a child. And we've had some really great scenes where he's like emotionally trying to process everything that's happening, even though physically he's not been in any danger. And it's been really, really wonderful. Okay, Zephy, you say, what is the chat there? Am I streaming in two places or is this a repost? This is a streaming in two places. This is streaming in both YouTube and Twitch. Oh, it looks like someone else has answered that question already, which is why some of the chats were not appearing in Twitch. Yes, so people have already answered Zephy's question. Okay, perfect. EB08, I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a delayed reply. This stream is going to be available later. So if you can't watch now, it will absolutely be there. Aurora, it's funny that I was responding to your earlier message. 11-year-old barbarian is freaking hilarious to me because instead of rage, they just have a temper tantrum. And that is definitely one way you can take it. I also think it's really funny because I don't think one of the big inspirations for me running a game where the characters are children pulled into a world of magic, is the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I've not watched a lot of it, but I've watched just enough to know the premise. And I've always thought, oh, but what if you actually did that in D&D? And in that game, the youngest character, who probably was like 10, was a barbarian. We have a very different tone in our games, so obviously it's not quite the same, but it's just funny to me. Okay, people have answered that. Where the orphans run around on fire. I think that was a discussion. Yep, somebody noticed the what you say reference in on the whatever it's called, the overlay. Zephy, it is totally up to you whether you go to YouTube or Twitch. I am fine with people being on Twitch because I think it is probably a good idea to diversify and to not have all your eggs in one basket. But that is, but that, you know, it's totally up to you where you go. It doesn't make any difference to me. I am happy to keep streaming to Twitch. Sometimes I may only stream to Twitch. A lot of times I'll probably stream to both. We'll see how the YouTube audience sort of responds to it. But I don't necessarily love having everything only on YouTube, because if something goes wrong, then that could go really poorly. So I'm totally happy for it to be in both. Oh, fantastic, Angel. Glad you could catch a stream. Excellent. Baronessa, binder full of women. Wow, that is an old reference, but I remember it. Bobicious, the characters are very young. What's up with that? Yeah, we've I don't know when you commented that, but I've discussed it's basically like Narnia or the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. They've been pulled into the world. So if you're Super Geek wife, or sorry, so if you're Super Geek Mike and your partner is Super Geek wife, would that make your baby Super Geek Tyke? Gaia, that is really, really good. Maybe. I'm gonna screenshot this and remember it. That's really, really good. M Kang, welcome. Old head DM here who also finds my videos useful. Thank you so much, M Kang. Welcome back. Glad to have you here. Ruben, what is Curse of Strahd like if the players level up past 10? Or do you cap the players at level 10 using milestones? I use milestones for Curse of Strahd. Yeah, definitely. I think I will have to, when I eventually talk about Curse of Strahd, I'll have to do that as a live stream because it's really helpful being able to answer questions like this. I use milestones, and I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm probably going to use some different stat blocks from what's in the book for Strahd. I definitely am. I think I'm going to use the Flea Mortals vampire for Strahd. Tell me about your game. Honestly, kids being in peril has always been a red card for me, straight up. Yeah, that is absolutely fantastically valid. This is kind of the way that I get around it in my games. I think it is more palatable when the characters are also young. If it's not your thing, like, there's a lot of things in Curse of Strahd that I just cut because I didn't want to do them. So that would easily be one of them if that was a hard line for me. Kyle, thank you so much. Very kind of you. Cattywampus, watching the channel from the beginning, you might get roped into DMing 5e for a group soon. That's fantastic. I'm very glad my videos can help. Barbarian sounds like a Captain Marvel situation, the old school, like Billy Batson, and like the D&D cartoon. Yep, perfect. Oh my gosh, Anthony Diaz, thank you so much. Is this my West Marches campaign? No, it is not. I don't have a West Marches campaign going right now because I don't have the time to prep it or the time to commit to it. Okay, it looks like I'm catching up, and then I'll move on to the next part of my prep. Yeah, Mesa, you made the connection to the 80s cartoon as well. I've seen a couple episodes. I do need to watch it at some point. Zeph, you played your second longest game in World of Darkness, and you all started as children. I was the youngest at like 9, I think, and we played them until adults. The concept was to play them birth to death. One of the players, we found out something bad happened, and we tried to play without him, but it didn't work out. Yeah, that's very frustrating. Absolutely. But the concept was great, and it was an incredible journey to grow with the characters. Fantastic. Yeah, that's fun when that happens. I've been in games like that before, where something happens and it's just really hard to move on from it, which is a real bummer. Hopefully you all still continue to play other games, and just, remember the good times you had with those characters. Andrew, you said hello. Keep your love my videos and Demystified series. Keep being you. Thank you so much. Yes, Anthony, this is an Isekai story. EBO8, you've been running Curse of Strahd with a few of the Mandy Mock and Lunch Break Heroes editions. Highly recommended. There's always a certain je ne sais quoi to running the pure game. Yeah, definitely something I'll have to talk about more in a future for future video dedicated to Curse of Strahd. Okay, I'm going to ignore. Yeah, I need to bring in mods here. I have not had a chance to do that yet. So I will just go to Twitch. I have it open, and I will. Boo 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 boo. What is it? Ban timeouts. Yeah, it's ban. Or I could make him a mod. Ha ha ha. Okay. Slash, thank you so much. Glad you could be here. Yeah, I do need to get some mods up in my live chat. Did not have a chance. Oh, I forgot to look, see if they were on Twitch or YouTube. Ah, well, I need to get mods on both of them, which definitely, as I'm trying to do more live streams, I will do. Zephy, you are on the short list. Absolutely, we'll have to chat offline. They were Twitch. Okay, yeah. If you're in the Discord, just DM me and let's chat. Actually, wait. I could just do it right here, right? Well, we'll chat about it because I don't need a mod right now today, but we'll definitely need one soon. All right. So, as you can see, I have some things up here that are like, hey, before you do prep, remember this. And so this is really important to me. Like, this one doesn't apply now, but it was something that the players basically wanted to do once they got to the bar in Vallaki. We finally got a chance to do that in the last session, so I can delete that. But by putting it in bold up top, it's like, oh, okay, these are really important. This is really important information. Upcoming prep notes. Before prepping the next game, refresh yourself on the forms of creepy horror atmosphere. Yeah, I need to do that. I'm not going to do that right now, but I do need to do that in the next, whenever the characters sleep. Oh, wait, no. I did do this. I can cut that. That was a while ago. This was just really useful for me as I was running. Now, this is the downside of Google Drive, is that I like running in person, and I like having things on separate pages when I run in person. This is not really the situation when I'm doing an online game. So for me, doing an online game, it's honestly fine to have everything basically just in one chat. Or sorry, not one chat. It's basically fine to have everything just in one document and just to be able to scroll and use chapters at the side to sort of navigate it. For me, as I was running Vallaki, there were so many characters I needed to keep track of. We're leaving Vallaki now, so I'm going to delete that from my notes. All right, this is the start time. So we're tracking the amount of time they've been in Ravenloft. It's going to be the morning because they just took a long rest in the church. And they're going to try to get out of the town early. I'm pretty sure it's like 6:30 a.m. Oops. Friday, August 4th, because they came from our world, so they use our calendar. And I'm just tracking the full moon because I think it is extremely unlikely that they are going to be there long enough for the moon to still be relevant. But it's really important to be able to track like when celestial events occur because, you know, hypothetically, in some place that is gothic horror inspired, the presence of a full moon might be extremely important. But we have not had that be an issue just yet. I do not imagine the characters will be there for a full month. I mean, we're 12 sessions in, and they're only on their 6th day in the world of the game. So I don't expect they're going to be there for another, whatever it is, 29 or whatever it is. Okay, this is the biggest thing I do with my prep. And I know this is not very common. Most people don't prep this way. This may not be useful to you. This is the way I prep. I like to basically tell myself, okay, what do I expect to happen in each session? So actually, I'm going to show you what I had here. It opened with the battle to the vampires, which we did do. Because that was how the last session ended. So they rolled for initiative, and they had the big fight in the next session. Return the bones to the temple. They did that. Flee town, they're about to do that. So for hour 1, I'm going to say, flee town, meet elves at crossroads. And I'm going to introduce the taxman. Taxman is an NPC that I made up. But he's going to be a vampire. So I need to add his stats into Foundry, into D&D Beyond, and all that stuff. So that's what I expect to happen in the first session. Now, I don't actually have any idea what's going to happen after that. But I know the main thing they want to do is find a safe place to bring Ismark and Irina, a.k.a. Hansel and Gretel, as they're calling them, to keep their anonymity. So my expectation is that they're going to go to Kresk. That is where I think they're going to want to go first, because they want to sort of drop off Hansel and Gretel somewhere safe. Now, as written, you cannot get in to Kresk until you go to the winery. I don't think I'm going to do that in this game. I think they're not going to be able to see the abbot until they go and what is the term I'm looking for? Yeah, the ring light in the background. Yeah, I had to pull it out for shooting some thumbnails, like the one used for this YouTube video, and I just didn't put it away. Hold on, I want to make sure. I've not seen a chat from YouTube in quite some time. I just want to make sure I'm still live there. I'm sure I am. Yeah, I am. Okay, cool. Yep. Hopefully YouTube folks are still enjoying. I'm glad we have some more people on Twitch, though. That's fantastic. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, it didn't sync. There's a bunch of YouTube chats that I'm not seeing. Oh, no. Shoot, I haven't seen one since, like a while now. Okay, I'm not that far behind. But I am behind. Kids in danger. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to catch up on those in a minute. Ooh, shoot. Sorry, folks. I've been essentially ignoring a whole bunch of people. Let me catch up on chat, actually. Let me do that first. Aurora, you say, even though kids in danger makes you uncomfortable, gotta respect taking that step / pushing the boundary for the sake of the player experience and immersion. Yeah, this is something that is more, I mean, it sort of comes up in my Session 0 videos. I'm very, very clear, and this will be talked about in my Curse of Strahd video as well. I'm very, very clear what people should expect from this game before they start, because the last thing I want is for anyone to get sidelined or sideswiped by something that I know is coming in this game. There are definitely things that I can cut. I mean, I've cut the Vistani almost entirely from this run through because they're just kind of fundamentally a broken piece of story that honestly doesn't add that much. You can just have people in town and people in Barovia loyal to Strahd, and they don't have to be Vistani. Like, Madame Ava can just be a fortune teller in a hut, and it's fine. And Esmeralda can just be, like, a cool adventurer, and it's fine. So I've cut all the other Vistani or converted them to other things, which is, working out pretty well so far. There's some times where I have to tell the players, ignore this because I don't have Vistani in this game anymore, but they're understanding of that. But there's other things, and the way Curse of Strahd handles sanity is not my favorite thing in the world. But there are other things like in child endangerment and further escalation of that storyline where it is interesting to me, and there's other things as well with Strahd as a character that I lean into, and I tell them, hey, expect this, it's going to be this, it's going to be creepy, it's going to be spooky, it's going to be unsettling, we're going to get into this territory and this, we're going to talk about abusive behavior and things like that, and so it's very, very useful to tell players that, because then they know they're getting into something that is more emotional and I think interesting than they may. Otherwise, they're going to get surprised by it, and that will not be fun. Ooh, EBO8 said running a Curse of Strahd game. You ran a Curse of Strahd game years ago with a few people that you're running for now, and you've added in some legacy Easter eggs from their characters, implying Strahd came back and the old characters existed. That is fun. I have not had a chance to do that yet. I'm of two minds onto whether or not Strahd should be defeated or not, but I think about it a lot. Like whether or not Strahd should be able to be permanently defeated. John Elliott said there's some really good phrase stat blocks out there for Strahd if you're interested in him fighting the party with lower volumes of minions / NPCs. Yeah, I've got a few different stat blocks for Strahd. I just need to settle on one. basically. Mike Leventhal, like your name, said, so you were streaming, wanted to stop by and say you love videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. Andrew, yeah, I think I've used the Real Devil Strahd as well, or something similar to it. I tried using the Feigns. I found that I think that was one of the... if I'd only used the Feigns and a couple other things, it would have been fine. I just did not end up having... I don't think our story had the bandwidth for the Feigns, so they sort of got abandoned, which is fine. Gaia, do my parties regularly keep watch during the night? Yeah, usually. Hans, do I use paper copies for in-person then? It hasn't really been a factor, but that is my goal, is to get back to using in-person physical copies of notes. That is the plan. The Viking, you've got a game you've been running for a few months. Players' schedules have made it so you can't keep the same group. So you feel like it's hardly begun. How do you keep motivated without consistent players? Man, that's hard. That is something that I am really just now trying to get better about, is playing even if we don't have everybody. And I think that is better than not playing as often because we don't have everybody. I will be able to tell you in probably a year how it went, to be completely honest. I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately, because I have just now gotten to the point that you're at now, which is you're at the point where you don't have players at every time, but you still keep playing. I am just now getting to that point because and I made a video about this really recently. I set a precedent where we just wouldn't play if we didn't have everybody, and that was a bad idea. So you're further ahead of the curve than I am. Hello, Deadly Spark. Welcome. Yes, Andrew, that's true. We could have a full moon whenever we wanted to because Strahd is magic. Big Clingy said, of course, the Taxman is a vampire. Yeah, sometimes not being able to permanently defeat the villain feels like a downer. And there's interesting ways that I think we could continue the story if we wanted to, but it is also fun to be able to say, hey, yeah, you've defeated him. End of story. End of adventure. Insomniac Gaming Theater? Sure, yeah. We can remind me when we get there. But yeah, let's revisit an old topic when we get to it. Yeah, I'd be happy to dive into it. And Slash, this is going to have some spoilers for Curse of Strahd. The stuff we're talking about today is not going to be hugely different from how it's published in the adventure. So, I don't know why YouTube is not appearing in the multi-stream anymore, but I'll toggle between them. Okay, so, catching up with where we were. In the adventure, as written, you're not able to get into Kresk until you first go to the winery. I'm changing that. One of the reasons is because I really want Irina and Ismark to go to Kresk, because that is where I'm putting Vasily Van Holtz, which, if you know, you know. But also, I have some really interesting plans for how I'm going to handle Vasily, which is basically, he is going to present as someone who is also from their world. He's going to claim to be a British soldier from World War II. I'm sorry, the son of a British soldier from World War II. So that he will seem like a light. So that's my goal. That's what I think is going to happen, is meet Vasily Van Holtz, discover Union Jack flag. No, it's not a Union Jack. Yeah, it's a Union flag. Which I only know because I recently rewatched. I only know that because I recently rewatched the episode of Doctor Who where they go to London in the 1950s and they fight TVs. That's the only reason I know that difference. So go to Kresk is our two. Now they are, because the reason I'm going to say that instead of not being able to get into Kresk until you go to the winery, they're not going to be able to go and see the abbot until they go to the winery. That's basically how they're going to be able to get access. We'll say the only people who are allowed to enter the abbey are the Wizard of Wine's winery. No one's had a delivery from there in a while. They already know about the winery, and they are interested in going to check it out, so this will help incentivize them to go to that next, probably. And they already want to go and see the abbot because the paladin has already very correctly guessed the nature of the abbot. There was some sort of clue Oh yeah, it was through. I basically established that Ezek's arm was made responsible, was made the way it is because of the abbot, and I sort of through the paladin's divine sense, I said you sense, fiendish energy from here, human energy here, and like a little bit of celestial energy here, and the paladin was like, I think the abbot in Kresk is a blank, and I was like, holy crap. How did he get it exactly right? So I think they're already going to want to go see the abbot. It's also not the end of the world if they don't, because the main thing I want them to do is it depends on what the players do. They can do anything they want. I also don't want them to drop the kids off with the winery, because that is a safe place to leave them. But it's so far remote in the map. I think it would be more fun to leave them in Kresk in the possession of Vasily Van Holtz, whose true identity is not awesome. But there are lots of ways that Vasily is concealing his identity. And I think that will be very, very fun. Now, my players have surprised me in the past. They've figured things out. And as Big Clingy just pointed out, they guessed a twist regarding the abbot. Which was really, I was deliberate foreshadowing, but they just skipped right to the end of the line to something that when I was a player, we did not figure out until like the final session when he revealed it to us. I was like, oh, we had no idea. We weren't even close. So the question is, what else? I think when they go to Kresk, visit Burgomaster's house. That's the other thing they're going to potentially do in Kresk. Refused entrance to Abbey. Only Wizard of Wines deliveries are allowed in. We're not doing the fountain. We're not doing the fountain where Irina's agency is once again taken away. That's absolutely not happening. Because that sucks. Okay, I'm catching up on chat a little bit before I talk about the next thing, because I'm going to talk a little bit about Kresk, and we're going to open it up, and we're going to do a little prep based on that. Guy, you say your main issue with the Curse of Strahd campaign is that it often ends up that everything the party does is for nothing, which you think is awful writing if you can understand why. Yeah, that is something that I have to navigate around a couple of times in this campaign. Mr. Meg says, I just want to say you love my vids. The CR Demystified vids are amazing, wonderfully objective. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Zeffy, they might suspect Vasily when they meet him, but it helps that everyone in Barovia has names kind of like this. Assume the worst possible scenario. Fewer PCs die that way. Yeah, they've got a healthy amount of skepticism. When they were in Vallaki, it was a very short list of people that they trusted. And one group, I was like, oh man, if they tell them this is actually gonna be really useful to them, it's gonna be a really interesting ally for them to have. Oh, they didn't tell them anything. Okay, we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I don't think I'm just gonna do anything with the fountain. Because I have other plans for Sergei that I think are more interesting. Okay. Before we go down to any of this stuff, which is all very useful, which we'll talk about in a minute, we're first going to keep doing prep. We're going to go to D&D Beyond, pull up Curse of Strahd, and we're going to look at Kresk. And we're just going to see what's going on there that we need to know about. Now, we don't need to do anything with the Abbey, which is what most of this chapter is about. We're really only dealing with Kresk. Now, Kresk is fortified, yet there's no escaping the vampire. Oh, yeah, the wolves. The wolves are a big deal. That's something I need to make sure that we're keeping conscious of, because they're right next to the wolves. Oh, that was right. To be fair, who can you trust when you're isekai'd into a creepy horror world? Big Clingy, that's exactly right. That's part of why they're as suspicious as they are. The only thing they depend on from the outside world is wine. This is a little just too simplistic. Okay. Need to know that guy's name. So we're going to go ahead and go up here. I'm going to build a Kresk NPCs. Burgomaster. And then the other major one, we're going to do the Abbey, to be confirmed, because we're not going to get access to it yet. And if they're able to get in, I can stall. I know the Abbey well enough that I can get through it. I'm not really worried about the Abbey. There's only really 3 NPCs that matter. I really only care about 2 of them, which are not the Beast Folk that much. What was I doing? Vasily Van Holtz. The House of Van Holtz. Okay. The Abbey is up on the hill. Blah, 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 blah. All this backstory, which is not terrible to refresh my memory on, actually. They all killed themselves and killed each other, rather. Okay, cool. A pilgrim from a distant land came to Kresk and insisted he be allowed to reopen the Abbey. That was the nameless abbot, who is eternally young. Oh, many villagers suspect that the abbot is Strahd in disguise, for they've heard stories about Strahd appearing in other guises. The truth is even more disturbing. It's not really more disturbing, actually, because he's cool. But Strahd is dangerous. Strahd is present in another disguise. In my game, he's going to be here. Mr. Kier asked, how do I encourage players to take action in a campaign? I missed that comment earlier. You just keep throwing things at them until they have to do something. And if they don't do anything, then things get worse. That's a really good question. I'm going to screenshot it. That might have to be a video, because I'm realizing that was sort of the problem with my Princes of the Apocalypse game. Is that I didn't put the pressure on enough early on. Let's see. The gatehouse. There's not much to interact with here. Gatehouse, the Burgomaster, the village, the pool and the shrine, which we're not going to do, and the winding road that leads to the Abbey. So there's not really going to be a ton here. Okay, there's archers in the gatehouse. They bring the Burgomaster to the door. I don't think we're going to do that. Am I getting a call? I am. All right, folks, I'm going to be right back. I'm back. I need to get my transitions back up and running. Hello, Mr. Dad. Welcome. Okay. Dimitri isn't prepared. Okay. Dimitri is a lord, expects to be treated like one. He places the safety of his villages above the welfare of strangers. Sure, sure. He assumes they are Strahd's allies or enemies. The only way the players can earn his is to help Kresk in some way. Oh, so that's why it is, which is like required by his oath of office and his honor as a Barovian noble to show them hospitality. Okay, but here's the thing. My characters are children. Like, that's just not the same concern because they're literally children. They're children who need help. I think it is very easy to justify bringing them in, even though they are somewhat intimidating and scary. So I'm not gonna worry about any of this. Yeah, you can only go if you go get the Wizard of Wines first. I have other reasons to get them interested in the Wizard of Wines, so I'm not doing that. Hi, Tyler. Welcome. If the characters force their way into town using magic or strength of arms, doesn't apply. Wow, that's really kind of it, isn't it? Oh. I think some of the stuff was different in the game that I run. And they were the game that I played in. I don't think Kresk was a big thing in the first Strahd game I ran. So this is going to be the first time we're really dealing with it, if they even do deal with it. Craig's residences are single-story pine cottages. That's fine. I can read that when we're in the session. Okay. His wife, Anna. So it's saying that the Kresk storyline, the Kreskov bloodline has ended because of illness. Yeah. Maybe, and they just 7 days ago. Yeah, this is not the way that was run in the game that I was a player in. Paul, I am doing prep for my Curse of Strahd campaign. So this is preparation. This is me going through one of the chapters of Curse of Strahd before my game tomorrow. Let's see. Residents never leave for fear of being attacked by wolves. Yeah, that's useful information to remind ourselves of. I'm just going to copy that into my notes. Yeah, I know about the Wizard of Wines. That's fine. Yeah, I think I'm going to do something different with the Burgomaster. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let me finish reading these notes. A pool at the north end of the village provides fresh water throughout the year. Next to the pool, the village's ancestors built a shrine to the Morning Lord in a gazebo. It is known as the Shrine of the White Sun. The Abbey of St. Markovia is named after a priest of the Morning Lord who took a stand against the Devil Strahd. Okay. I think I accidentally lifted this and put it into Vallaki when I was doing Saint Andril. Which is fine. It doesn't matter. I'm probably not going to use this lore then, because I already did it. Yeah, this is all about the abbot. Or about the pool, which we're not doing. Okay, so, not at all what I remember in my games. So, Burgomaster and Anna Kreskov. I'm not going to say that their 4 kids fell ill and are no longer with us. I'm going to say that their child has been abducted by... Tyler, yes, the VOD will be available. Child has been taken by the Wolfmen. Because you're really close to that, and that is a thing that I'm including in the campaign, which is the werewolves are, will go after children. I've already established that. And so I think it is very strange that we have this other thing that has happened to the kids in this story that really does not matter when we could just tie it instead to another quest. So that's what we're doing there. Yeah, other than that, there's not a ton in Kresk. So, yeah. So we're just going to meet Vasily. Vasily Van Holtz and his manservant. We're going to go ahead and introduce... shoot, what is his name? Not Ricktop. Who is the... Who is Strahd's manservant? Why can I not remember his name? Castle Ravenloft. He's probably at the beginning, or he's in this chart somewhere. Rahadin. Yeah. We'll make Rahadin the manservant to Vasily Van Holtz, I think. I'm going to sleep on that. I mean, that's what I've had in my head. I think that makes the most sense. Because he's an NPC that we could easily see back at Castle Ravenloft, but he also is not undead, which means that he's not going to set off any warning detectors for the folks who are here. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. Tyler, have I heard of Eve of Ruin? Yes, I have. I know it's coming out soon, and I believe, yeah, so it has some Barovia references in it, it sounds like. Yes, so Tyler, this will be a VOD. Fantastic. Yes, this will also be a video. This one and another live stream I'm going to do in the future is going to be the subject of a video as I'm doing some research. or not doing research. I'm basically going live to present content that I can cut down for later. Okay. Michi, I'm glad you enjoyed the Be Right Back stream. Welcome, first time chatter. Glad to have you here. Zeffy. Oh, yeah, there are some Fae elements. I get that. Owlbear, welcome. Glad to have you here. Yes, it is Owlbear. It is a riff on Burgomaster because everything in Curse of Strahd is Eastern European inspired. And I'm sorry that you have some insomnia. Sorry to hear that. Question you need an answer that isn't as many as you can afford. There's never enough. What's the number of dice sets a player should have before it gets to be too much? It honestly depends. Listen, the straight dope, the real answer is when it becomes a problem that you don't have anywhere else to put them. Or when you have to just get rid of some stuff. Like if you're doing some spring cleaning, if the dice are taking up too much space, you have too many dice. That's the real answer. I had to get rid of some dice because I just didn't have room for them. You know, I had other things that I need that I would rather have. So that's the straight dope. Dungeon Draken Beams, welcome. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's my prep for the hour by hour. That's the main thing I do with my prep. A lot of the rest of this stuff has already been taken care of because this was my random encounters list, which I just keep in this chart because, or I just keep in this document because, again, this is one-stop shopping when I'm running an online game, so it's just really easy just to navigate over here. Now, I pre-rolled the encounter at the crossroads. That's how I rolled up the Taxman. I think I actually rolled it a couple times because there was something else I rolled, and I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. That's not right. But then I got this result off of... it was this. It was either a bride, Escher, or the Taxman, which is a character that I'm adding to Curse of Strahd. Daytime encounters and nighttime encounters. I'm really not worrying about that, but I do need to... This is basically, I want to fix the random encounters in Curse of Strahd. I'm not going to do that today. Although I really should. I really should do that today. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Then I have a death chart, which is if people die, there's possible that something else will happen. And then once that does, it's not going to happen to anyone else anymore. So if they make a deal with something on the other side, they come back with some sort of change. And then I'll take that one off the list. That's why I have 25 results, even though there's a 1 to 20 chance you roll one of these on a 1 to 20 die. So, yeah, I really should just do this now. Let's go to the random encounters in Curse of Strahd. Let's just do some random encounters. Where is it? Table of contents. Lay of the land. Random encounters. Okay. Because a lot of these are kind of boring. I mean, they just don't really line up with how I run my games. And also, there's things like the Vistani Bandits, and I've cut those. So instead, we're gonna start some. Let's see. These are daytime encounters, right? We just copy them and tinker with them a little bit. I'm fine with Grave. I'm going to cut False Trail because it doesn't really apply. Children of Strahd is a faction in my game. Skeletal Rider. They've already met him before. Trinkets. Hidden Bundle. Maybe. Were Ravens. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Dire Wolves. Wolves. Berserker. Corpse. Man, we got a lot of use out of the corpse before. Yeah, I'll leave it in there. Werewolves in human form. Druid and Twig Blights. Needle Blights. Scarecrows. Revenants. Strahd. That'll be fine for now. We're gonna tinker with it a little bit as we go. I might cut things that I just don't like as much anymore. Like hunting trap. I don't think... Yeah. No, I'll leave the hunting trap in there. They've met the hunters. I think that's not terrible. Trinket, corpse. Yeah, I was able to do some things with the corpse. I think part of the reason I didn't like it is because this is a D12 plus a D8. So the things in the middle are much more common. So we got corpse a couple of times in a row. That's why I'm putting these all on a 1D20 right now. I'm going to tinker with this. I'm not ready to make my video about random encounters because I'm still working on my system for them. But one of the things that I'm doing is that if you want to get more specific results over and over again, you can use either, 2 dice paired together, because you're always going to get these ones in the middle more often because you're more likely to get them because of how averages work. But there's so many results, and I just did not enjoy rolling these boring ones in the middle, so I'm going to put them all on 1d20. Like I said, this is not necessarily my permanent solution to random encounters. It's just what I'm doing for now, and we're going to test it. There are some great videos out there about random encounters. I plan to make one as well. I have not yet made it. Okay, I did cut something along the way, it sounds like. So, just adding Strahd as a random encounter on both of these. Okay, that's workable for now. It solves the problem that I was having, which is I keep getting the same result over and over again. Tyler, you say some of the higher level enemies should have silver weapons. It would make sense for them because of where they live and that they're higher level. That way it gives you access. That way it gives access to the party pretty quickly. You like a silver dagger, silver short sword, a couple of silver arrows. That's not a bad idea. I don't think it applies as much here because most of the things that on this list are lower level than the werewolves. So it sort of doesn't match. And I also kind of like... The other thing is that I kind of like the idea that our characters are the only ones out there solving these problems. So if everyone out there has silver weapons, why are the werewolves still a problem? And the answer is because no one's out there fighting the werewolves, so I don't think that many people would have the silver weapons. I think these factions tend to give each other a wide berth. They really only go after our characters. Now, this is still something I could fiddle with and improve. I could absolutely... right now, there's no possibility for things... Actually, that's not true, because first I roll on this. And, oh, that's right, Strahd is a possibility on this one as well. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I think the charts I have still work based on this. I think it's pretty unlikely my players are about to travel at night again, because they are realizing the danger, but it's still good to have the chart. Let's see. And the folks in Twitch are basically talking about Sealy and Unsealy stuff. Okay. All right. That is a lot of the prep that I wanted to do. There's a little bit more that I still need to do. So we're going to tag along with that as well, because I need to... I wonder if I should write anything for Vasily's home. Because he's not in this book. So I don't have a description for it. Hold on, I need to check something. Real quick. I think I know the answer. Yep. Okay, so this episode that I'm recording for is not going to be sponsored by Describe, so I'm not going to show you how I could pull a mansion description from Describe. But I could do that, and I probably will. In fact, why don't I just... Oh, no, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm sorry. This is silly. I'm just going to find a map that I like. I'm going to find one from, just put one on Foundry. And that'll be sort of how I do my description. We'll start with that anyway. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is come up with some stats for the Taxman. I'm creating them here, and then I'm going to port him into Foundry. Where is Make a Monster again? My homebrew creations. Oh, no, there it was. Create monster. Oh, well, it's fine. Create a monster. And we are just going to give the vampire from Flea Mortals. There it is. We're just going to put the Flea Mortals vampire, and we're going to make that the Taxman for now. Because that's a good excuse for us to see how he fares against the party. I think he's going to be a little bit more formidable than they are right now. Oh, other direction. T, U, and then V. Oh, no, that's right, because it's sorted by undead. So... right. Wasn't there some other... There were some other vampires in this book as well, I thought. Blood-starved vampire. No, that doesn't apply. Vampire neophyte. Oh, that's the retainer. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, yeah, we'll just try their vampire and just see how it works. Okay. I wish I had the PDF on my computer, but I don't, and I don't want to switch to plug it in right now. Create from scratch. In the meantime, you know, I'm happy to answer some questions because right now I'm just going to be doing some copying and pasting. What else do people want to talk about? Nope. Okay. Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nope, doesn't apply. Alignment, we're going to call him lawful evil. Whoa, there's a lot of alignments. Oh, typically. No, it's just one person. CR 13. Where would the stats be? There they are. Okay, armor class. Mr. Kerr, what is a good way to start a new campaign? That's a great question, and my answer would be it depends on the ultimate story you want to tell. So I like starting in the action when possible, but it depends. Like, what is it good? So, for example, when I ran Horde of the Dragon Queen, it starts and it's like, oh, you come over the hill and you see this village being attacked. What do you do? And the answer is sometimes people say, I don't want to go there. And that's a bad example. I put people into the tavern and I say, okay, you're in the tavern. What are you going to do? And it's like, oh, we're talking to so-and-so. We're talking to so-and-so. I want to run this game again because I really enjoy doing it. Because then after just like 10 minutes of giving people a chance to roleplay, you just blow up the tavern with a lightning breath from a vampire or from a dragon. I'm typing in vampire stats. That's why. That's why I had that thought. But and then it's like a disaster zone. It's like, okay, you're in this sort of oh, I see how it's written out. And I thought that was a much more energetic campaign. We were in a campaign once where we woke up in a mass grave together. 4 characters woke up in a grave. And we didn't know each other, but we all had matching tattoos that we'd never seen before. And it was awesome. And I think that was a really fun way to start that campaign. But sometimes I also like starting people in a tavern. Like I don't think there's a wrong way. I think there are ways to start a game were not as exciting as they could have been. But I think that is, I don't think there's a wrong way to start a campaign, to be completely honest. Okay, necrotic, resistance, bludgeoning, from non-magical attacks, resistance. Oh, let's take a bunch of these. Yes, a vampire with lightning breath would certainly shake things up. You are not wrong. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magic attacks. Yeah, there we go. So I can delete that first one. Big Clingy also said vampires with lightning breath would legit be cool. Do I recommend starting with an original adventure or pre-made module? Big Clingy asks. I think it is useful. I did not start with modules, but I really run from them right now because they are very, very helpful. So I would have to say they are very valuable if you can get them. If you enjoy them. I have had a hard time reading modules in the past, and I will make another video about that as well. I think I may have already done that. I don't know. I don't know if I've talked about that much. Big Clingy, you say you're an aspiring DM, but you haven't gotten around to it yet. Worried your players will be hesitant because you're new. Yeah, I mean, that is possible. I think that is ultimately, I think it is worth just saying, hey, I want to run a one-shot, and that gives people sort of an out. It's like, oh, okay, cool. That's all we're doing. And then that way you are not asking them to commit to you overall, as your new game master. You're just saying, hey, I want to run a game. Would you be in a game that I'm running? This is the art I found on Pinterest of the tax man. Do you know where I can find online games that don't require a PC? Everywhere you look online wants you to have a PC and a bunch of resources not available on mobile. I use a Mac, so I don't know. It's a good question. Unless you're talking about PC as in any sort of personal computer, in which case I also don't know. I think there are games that you can run only on Discord, and those would be a good option. I would recommend. Viking, the question you had earlier, when using one or two prime PCs to push a game through where others are outsiders, any advice on how to incorporate them lightly so they can be there only occasionally? I don't know. It's sort of tough. Like, the ultimate issue you're saying is, you want to have your players involved in the story as much as they're able to be at the game, and you don't want to have to do a whole bunch of extra legwork for when they're not there. And I don't know. I mean, that is a great question that I ultimately think I don't know the answer to, because it depends a lot on your players and what they're willing to do. Like, for example, what I'm doing in my Shadow Dark game is they're all members of a shared faction. So whatever they need to do at any given time, maybe they'll leave, maybe they'll come back. That sort of works fine for that style of game. That may not be what your players are looking for. That may not be what they want. And so that's hard for me to say that that's a one-for-one necessarily. Radiant damage. Deadly Spark, your party will be traveling through a mountain pass soon. You want to have a golem fight there, but they're level 12. play about 2 levels higher. Any golems I'd recommend? I don't really know the golems that well. I'm not really an expert in the mechanics as much, so it's hard for me to say for sure what would work. But yeah, I don't really worry about the math that often. So you're sort of asking the wrong guy. Sorry, I can't be more helpful. Tyler, you did the same thing. You put your players in Vasselheim during the end of Vox Machina, so they were low level and they helped save civilians. That's fantastic. That's an awesome. Yeah, that's a great opening to a campaign for sure. Hello, blah blah. Welcome. I'm very delayed in responding. Eric, you said your DM likes games where you have to go find out stuff, but not exactly gain knowledge from dice rolls. When you become a DM, do I have a topic or setting what you could use to incorporate research? That is, I think what you're essentially asking is how can we make finding information more interesting than just I rolled, I got above the thing, I have the information now. And I would look at how information is doled out in serialized stories like either video games or TV shows like Lost, where you find out a little piece of information. Oh, you want more? You got to go on a quest. And if you want more information, then you go to the books. And the other option is give your players something actually to look at. Like you could make a World Anvil page and say, hey, do you want to go look up information and you don't want to just roll the die? Here's the information. If you want it, you have to go look at my wiki. Those are my 2 initial thoughts. I'm happy to defer to others who have more ideas than the ones I've come up with. Have I played all the... Oh, clever. Hell, welcome. Glad to have you here. Have I played all the 5e WotC modules? No. I have run or played very few of them. I have run some of Tyranny of Dragons, specifically really only the beginning of Horde of the Dragon Queen. I played in the end of it as well. I got to be there for the final fight of Horde of the Dragon Queen for a different game. I have run Princes of the Apocalypse. I've run Curse of Strahd. I'm running it a second time. Neither of those campaigns are finished yet, so I haven't run it all the way to completion, but I've played in it through completion. And I played through Storm King's Thunder. I think that's it so far. I want to do some more, but I have not had the chance yet. But I really want to run more of them. I know some of them would require a lot more work, but I think it would be a lot of fun, especially since we have this big finale coming. Part of me is like, oh, I wish I'd been running these the entire time, because it would be really fun to like run all of these campaigns either for the same group or for a bunch of different groups and then bring their characters together for Eve of Ruin. So that's something I may want to do, but I do not have the bandwidth for it right now, but soon. And by soon, I mean sometime in the next 5 years. The vampire teleports. Luke says, "Hey Mike, I recently joined my old friend's long-running D&D group, and I get to DM a one-on-one with him just to try it out for myself and maybe build on it later. What should I aim for / try out? Go and watch 2 videos. Ginny D did a video about one-on-one D&D, and actually no, 3 videos. Matt Colville did a video about one-on-one D&D, and he also did a video about downtime, because he references that video a lot in his one-on-one video. Those have a lot of really useful advice. But basically, be prepared for your prep to go really, really fast. Give your players some character that they can bounce ideas off of, who's not going to steal the spotlight from them. Those are the big... And try to steer away from combat, instead of do something more like a mystery. Those would be the suggestions. Mr. Dad asked, do I have a favorite out of the modules? Right now, Curse of Strahd. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that's a good idea. Your first idea was a game with a business curse removers incorporated. That's perfect. It's like an episodic adventure. That is absolutely the kind of thing that you could do that would give your characters a chance to go from thing to thing. And yeah, I think that's always a lot of fun. When you can have like a structure like that. All right. Well, in their resting place, the vampire is stable. After spending 1 hour in their resting place with 0 hit points, they regain 1 hit point. Ah, ah, ah. Ah, this is what I was looking for, because I could not remember in my last game how Turn Undead worked. And we eventually realized that it's in the stat block for the people that you are attacking, not the character. Because I was basically having to roleplay for the cleric because he wasn't at the session. And at first I was like, oh, well, he's just going to wait downstairs then. It was a house full of vampires. So they really needed their cleric. And so finally I was like, okay, fine. He comes up. Jesus. He comes and hangs out with you all and does a turn undead and makes everyone run away. Because it was, it was not looking good before that. How would I rank the modules I've played? You tried running Horde of the Dragon Queen once with a group of friends. That module needs a revamped version. Yeah, clever. I have the wild thing to me is I have a friend who, when she ran Tomb of the Horde of the Dragon Queen, her party said that their favorite part was the part that killed my campaign. So I really want to at some point sit down with her on a call and record and have her tell me, how did you do that? How did you make the worst part the best part? The answer might just be that she loves the Forgotten Realms and she had a lot of fun incorporating elements from the Forgotten Realms, which is totally valid if that's the answer for her game, because she really leaned into some of the stuff, like in the Caravan, she really leaned into the Forgotten Realms and made that a bigger character, essentially, which I did not have the benefit of doing because I don't, that's not what I was doing in my game. But at some point, I do need to get together with her and figure out how she did that, and maybe steal some ideas and run it myself again. Because there's some things that I love in Rise of Tiamat. There's some things I really enjoy in whatever it's called, Tyranny of Dragons itself, that I just think the way you get there is rough. It was the 40-day caravan trip. Yep, exactly. That was the thing that killed our game. It was not the thing. There were mistakes that I was making as a game master. There were absolutely things that I could have done better. Just realized you can highlight messages. So what is my favorite riddle to throw at players? When I was walking to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Every wife had 7 cats. Every cat had 7 kits. Sorry, I screwed it up already. When I was traveling to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Every wife had 7 sacks. Every sack had 7 cats. Every cat had 7 kits. Kits, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were traveling to St. Ives? Escape DC 18. While grappled this way, the target is restrained. Excuse me, Joe. That is Die Hard 3, which is a good movie, not Die Hard 2, which is a bad movie. Die Hard 2 is fine. If you've seen Die Hard 1, you've seen Die Hard 2. And Die Hard 1 is good. But like, no, Eric, that's the wrong answer. Nerd Many Things, that is correct. Insomniac, that's exactly right. Yep. Yeah, another version of that I grew up with. It doesn't apply as much in worlds like D&D, but you can come up with a version of it where it's like a carriage driver instead. And you already know, based on how I'm referencing it, that you're going to be able to figure out the answer, because I've already told you that it's similar to St. Ives. But it's, let's say you're an elevator operator. There are 4 people that get on the first floor, and they're going to the 4th floor. At the 2nd floor, 3 people get on, 2 people get off. At the 3rd floor, 9 people get on, 7 people get off. At the 4th floor, 6 people get on, 2 people get off. At the 5th floor, or the 6th floor, 2 people get off. What color are the elevator operator's eyes? Man, I really just need to get the PDF downloaded, because I have it. Yeah, this is way too tedious. I'm not going to do it this way. This is a pain in the patoot. I also don't think they're going to fight... I don't think they're going to fight the Taxman. They should not fight the Taxman. So this is all probably wasted prep. And you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop doing this prep because it is not particularly useful. Yeah, I'm going to stop doing that because I'm realizing too, like, all I need for the game is this, right? I can just pull out the stats for the vampire spawn. Also, right now, Foundry's busted anyway, because Foundry is trying to figure out how to incorporate now being officially viable with D&D. So it's changing a bunch of functions. So last I checked, people couldn't even open the character sheets. So we're not getting into a fight that is specific to Foundry anyway. So I don't need a stat block. Yeah, Insomniac Die Hard 2 isn't that bad. It's just so forgettable. Mental Muse, an answer for which one? I wasn't sure. For the Traveling Sustained Ives, the answer is 1. And for Elevator Operator's Eyes, it's whatever color your eyes are. Yeah, let's see if we can even get the stat block, the character sheet open, because it might be that all of that making a character sheet for the Taxman is pointless right now. Let's find out. Oops, that's the wrong one. Player characters. Okay, maybe it just needs to load. Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, that's the prep. That is basically how I prep for my games. Actually, I should also show you how I do Foundry. And then I'll answer that question from, I know Insomniac, you wanted to ask a question as well. So we'll talk about that in a second. Kim, you're running one of the one-shots from Jeff Ashmore's The Game Master's Book of series. Which book? I've only read the Dragon ones, but I have puzzles and something else. Maybe traps. You ran the one Jim Davis ran as well? I don't know which one-shots are which. Okay. Let's find a good map to use for Vasily Van Holtz's home. Oh, wait, I have to open this. Am I going to have to... Okay, good. It's already linked. Shoot. Was that the right button? Where do I actually find it? Here? No. There it is. That's what I was looking for. I don't know why it wasn't showing up the first time. Have I ever used Owlbear Rodeo for maps and tokens? No, I haven't. I do at some point want to try out some more of these. I'm enjoying Foundry right now. All creators. Who we got? Let's just try Benito's battle maps. Let's do... What's he got in the village of Kresk? Interesting. Sort of snow. What is this one? Is this the Burgomasters? Kresk Interior 1. Honestly, I think some of these would be fine. These all the same? Kresk Interior 7. All looks like the same layout. Which would be fine. Again, I don't really expect to need a map for the Burgomaster's house. Yeah. I'm just not seeing what the difference is on these. Are they just the same? Yeah, sure. We'll import this one. I can use that for Vasily Van Holtz's house. Although I would like a manor. Would like something a little bit more like that. The Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters is what you're running from. The one Jim Davis wrote on is the Game Master's Book of Random Tables, which is on brand for him. Gotcha. Okay. Let's do close that, close that. What else is here? Yeah, he really leaned into making Kresk more snowy, which is fine. I don't really think that's how I picture it. Especially given that it's so close to the werewolf caves, which I don't picture that way. What is in Village of Barovia? Maybe there's something there that I can steal from instead for the house of Vasily. Yeah, those are all tavern, right? Yeah, those are the tavern. Yeah, tavern, church. Will the stream be available as a VOD later? Yes, it definitely will. If all goes according to plan, then I have no reason not to have it that way. Okay, which one is this? This should work. The Baron's house. Nope, that wouldn't work, because if they've been there, they would definitely recognize that. It will also be a video. It'll be cut down into a regular length video. Probably by the end of the month. The orphanage, nope, they were just there. So we're not going to use that. What's this? Is this the Baron's house still? Yeah, that's the upstairs. They went there. They did not go to her house, but I don't think I'm going to use that, because they still might. What's this? Velaki Apothecary. Yeah. The church. Yeah, it's not quite what I'm looking for. Though, to be honest, really what I want is I just want to present a scene like this, but not all my players can see them when I do, which is a bummer. Just because of their connection. It seems like sometimes when I show them like a cinematic scene, they just don't load for them. But, yeah, it's fine. I'm not seeing anything that I could just easily port over. Let's leave Curse of Strahd. Oh, wait. Fiditov Manor. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. That is probably something that was added. Fleshing out Curse of Strahd. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to use that part, but I will steal the manor because that is what I was looking for. Zephy, you said you just made your first custom adventure where they were in a haunted house and used the board game Betrayal at House on the Haunted Hill to move randomly through it. I love that game. But can will themselves to certain locations and wrote up stuff for all those locations. Been really happy with how it turned out. That's fantastic. Videos and people on Discord were invaluable for advice. I think that is the big benefit of Discord, is that there are definitely people out there who have different opinions than me and can present other ideas besides mine. So I'm very, very glad that you got some help from them. And I'm glad that I was able to assist as well. Zephy, you also said you wanted some of these cinematic scenes. These are from Benito's Battle Maps on his Patreon. Yeah, this will work. I did picture it being like a nice mansion. So, Fiditov Manor? Yeah, let's import the whole thing. Okay, perfect. That is what I was looking for. I was looking for something that I could use for the House of Vasily Van Holtz if they go there. Mr. Kerr, what happens if someone is infected with two types of lycanthrope, for example's sake, from a werebear and a werewolf at the same time? What happens? I think because of the initiative order, it would depend on who got to it first. I would honestly just have a dexterity, like an initiative check, see which one happens. You just want me to I just want you to know that I become hyperfixated on a hag/dragon lover's big bad evil guy, but as a night hag and ancient shadow dragons instead. Well, good. I'm glad. That sounds amazing. Okay. That is really like the amount of prep I wanted to do. So I'm gonna open it up the floor for questions. Insomniac, I know you had one that you wanted to revisit from a previous conversation. Zephy, you're welcome. Yeah, Mentat Muse. I love Mentat Muse. I love hags and I love dragons. I don't use either of them nearly as often as I wish I could. Ooh, this is a Tiberius question. Okay. All right. Insomniac, you say you're rewatching the Tiberius episodes of Critical Role because you haven't watched them in a number of years. Yep. I've been through that experience as well. You notice something interesting. Tiberius, the character, has a wisdom of 4. This really makes you wonder how much of his behavior is good RP of a character with poor judgment, and how much is the player himself exercising poor judgment. Obviously, we can't know for certain, but it's an interesting thought. The answer is it doesn't matter. Answer is, if the behavior makes the other people at the table not feel awesome, it super does not matter whether it's good roleplay, because it's bad roleplaying. Because there is no amount of role playing that is good to make your friends have a bad time at the table. The ultimate goal is for everyone to have a good time. And if all you're doing, whether or not it feels motivated by the character, if all you're doing is making other people have a miserable time, you need to change how you are approaching the game. Full stop. Because I've seen that argument. I've absolutely seen people say, oh, he was just role playing. And it's like, it doesn't matter. If he was role playing, he needed to be aware, and that he needed to be aware of the impact that it was having. People were trying to communicate that to him, and ultimately, then it's just the same situation as if he hadn't been role playing. All right, I think we're done with the screen. That was everything I wanted to show you all when it came to prep. Oh wait. There's something else I want to show you. We can keep going on this topic more if you want to. But the other thing I do is I have another page that I open up that I make notes in. And then what I will do is I'll type this up into something that is more comprehensive. And I'll do it before the next session. So I will say, I'll just type up everything that happened into the orphanage and called out to the children. Because at some point in the future, I may record this into a future video, But I'll make notes basically as if it's going to be something I'm going to talk about as a campaign diary. Here's what happened in the game. Here are the lessons I can learn from it. Maybe these will be future scripts. Maybe they're just for my own reference. I don't know. That is something I need to do before tomorrow, is type up this campaign diary. So that is the last piece of prep that I thought was noteworthy. Mr. Kerr, any tips on note taking during a session? Write down the decisions the characters make, and especially the things they ask about. Because the things they ask about are going to be things you need to do prep on, but the things they do are also going to be really important. And for me, that's sort of the benefit of the campaign diary notes, typing them up after the fact, is I then get to write down everything they did. And it's really important to remember what they did in case you ever run this game again and you're like, oh, shoot, did they talk to so-and-so? Well, if I take a note and say, oh, let's see, went back to temple, returned bones to church, then I know that that's what they did. So I basically know what has happened. It's something else I need to write down, which I didn't write down last time, is they sent a note to... See, I should have written this down, and this is the problem. To wolf hunters and... Who else besides the wolf hunters did they send a note to? To Rictavio. Parentheses, warning them to get out of town? ? I need to ask my players and remember what they did. Warning them that... Oh, no. It was, warning them that out of town, that vampires are on the loose? ? Warning them that Lady Fiona Wachter smuggled them in. I don't remember. Asked the priest to go tell the innkeeper at the Blue Water Inn. The same thing. Whatever that is. So when I type this up, I'll need to go and look at the Discord and see what they said. Yeah, Insomniac, I didn't assume that you were, I didn't assume otherwise. But yeah, I have gotten the defense a lot from people who genuinely think it's a defense instead of just something worth discussing. I think it is interesting. Because I've also had people say, like, oh no, he was just role-playing being a red dragonborn. Just like, get out of here. All right, I'm going back to this because I don't think we need to have my screen available. I'm going to add the chat to the screen. Shazam. Nope. Shazam. There we go. Cool. Maybe I'll slide it over here so it looks like I'm reading it. I don't know how legible that is. But again, and this is the thing, is I'm tinkering with all these settings and things. Oh, Zephy, you have a question. You've been making a conscious effort to spread events out a little more so characters' entire lives stop changing dramatically over like 4 months. Yeah, that is definitely, I mean, we were talking earlier about the published 5e adventures. That is definitely a consideration with those because that is how a lot of them are structured. So as a note-taking tactic, you found that does double duty. You get a cheap planner from a dollar store. You could do this kind of note where you're doing meet wolf hunters, got to Rictavio, blah, 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 and do it day by day as days happen in the universe. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic way to keep track of things as well. I'm actually going to move that. Do y'all want to see a little bit of behind the scenes? You want to see how the sausage gets made? That is the backlight that I use to make the color more interesting when I film. Then I just match the remotes on those lights so they line up with that. Yeah, Zephy, using a planner also helps you keep track of your timeline a little better, for sure. Mr. Kerr, what is my favorite environmental hazard I've used against players? That's a good question. I have to think about that. Oh, Super Geek Tyke's banner is adorable. Yeah. So, I'm gonna close this. So, that is, this room is actually going to be Super Geek Tyke's nursery. So I'm not going to be able to film in here beyond probably like late, maybe mid-April. So I'm trying to do as much filming as I can soon. I need to do a lot of writing. Yeah, this is going to be a nursery probably fairly soon. Insomniac, you said, I will also say, when I was a younger gamer, I sometimes felt trapped by the bad choices I made when making characters and didn't know how to not carry through on those bad choices. Not doing so felt like I was breaking character in a bad way. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like, I've seen different sides of it, right? So, like, obviously, when you're doing... Let's move this up a little bit so it's not... The light is... There we go. It's a little better. That also made that a little bit readable, actually. It's almost like I planned that. I didn't. But it's like I did. I didn't. I want to be like... I didn't make this... I didn't turn on the light to make it more readable. But it seems like I could have. But I didn't. So... What was I just saying? So I had a... when we're watching Curse of Strahd. Watching Vox Machina. And seeing Grog... And all of his role-playing is always very, very interesting and entertaining and fun. He has sometimes... moments of... I talked about this in the video. He has moments where he is very, very smart and is keeping track of things that are beyond the purview of someone who has an intelligence of 6. Anytime the bag of holding comes up is an example of when he is very, very attentive to details that it is very unlikely that Grog would be attentive to. And that's okay, because that's still fun for him, right? It is fun for him to be able to keep track of what is in the bag of holding. And it would suck if you just told him, oh, you can't keep track of that, you can't do that, because your intelligence is too low. Sucks to suck. But if you instead... The another example I think of is that when I was a player in an actual play show, and we had somebody who played his character like he was extremely dumb, but he had a decently average intelligence. His character did. But he was like, why should I have to play a smart character if I don't feel like playing a smart character? Like, my character knows things. My character has intelligence. He knows things. Does that mean that he's actually going to make smart choices? Yeah, he's got a high wisdom. He is able to identify things, but I want my character to be a buffoon. I want him to be a dandy. I want him to be a bit of a dummy. So for him, that was just more fun. And so I've seen it go both ways, where it's like, ultimately, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's also asking us as role players to assign a virtue, assign numbers at which certain people cannot perform certain things, which is a very slippery slope when you get into that sort of mentality, and also to have to commit to that for an entire campaign. And that is probably more than we should ask. So I don't feel like you have to be limited by your scores, especially to sort of the way, if you find fun in playing into your scores, that should be the fun part. But if you just have a character who is, like, if you have a high intelligence, but you don't want to play somebody who's smart, like, you could play characters who know lots of things, but aren't necessarily brilliant, you know? Like, just because you have let's say you have an intelligence of 15 or 16, you don't have to be Tony Stark. You don't have to be Percy or whoever. In 15 is a little low for that, you know? You could just be the guy who do really well on trivia, you know? You could be someone who would do extremely well on Jeopardy. Or you know what? Actually, look at Breaking Bad. Walter White is extremely intelligent, and he does stupid things constantly on that show because he has flaws to play into. And those flaws are not well, they would be on a 5e character sheet. But those are not flaws generated by his stats. It's not like we can say, oh well, Walter White has a low wisdom, so that's why he did the bad things he did. It's like, or why he went too far in this aspect, or why he didn't think this part through. It's like, no, he's just like a flawed human, and it was more fun. Yeah, Joe, it's tough because sometimes when Grog goes into the bag of holding, he's like, oh, we have several thousand gold, and he has like specific numbers, and it's like, okay, well, Grog would not know the decimal, would not know the specific numbers of gold pieces. But also, like, it's just fun for Travis to keep track of that stuff. That is so much more important than like holding his feet to the fire and saying, well, you said your character can't do math, so you're not allowed to help the party track resources. It's like, that would be so frustrating and not fun. Clever Chavez says sewers. Sewers is the biggest obstacle thrown at the party. The biggest environmental. Man, we in our Shadow Dark game that Clever is in, our sewer system. Yeah, that was rough. That was difficult because I was trying to, acknowledge that it would be difficult to swim through this area, but yeah, that was a brutal. Those sewers were brutal, and I don't know whether it should have been or whether that was the right decision. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if that's the biggest environmental choice ever made. Let's see. Yeah, Eric said if Grog doesn't have the bag of holding, Vex would have it. That would make the story go a very different way. Absolutely, it would. Mickey, or no, who asked? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Mr. Kerr asked, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Michi replied, yes. There's a great video by Thought Slime that answers that question, where the answer is basically not really, but also there's something interesting about the fact that people say it is, and maybe calling Die Hard a Christmas movie is how men are allowed to show affection during the holidays. It's a fantastic video. I absolutely recommend you go watch it. My answer is yes, because it's fun to say yes, and it's a fun movie to watch at Christmas time. I don't think it's worth starting fights over, personally. If someone says, I don't think it's a Christmas movie, they're basically saying, like, I don't think it feels Christmassy to me. And it's like, that's fine. I don't like a Christmas story. I don't feel like that movie, like, I think it's absolutely a Christmas movie, but I don't like it. Like, if people don't feel like Die Hard feels like a good Christmas movie to them, that's fine. Like, I'm not even saying that they dislike Die Hard. It's just, like, it doesn't feel like Christmas to them. It's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't like the live action How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's not really part of my Christmas routine, but my wife does, so we put it on. My wife likes Polar Express, and I think it's fine. Like, I didn't grow up with it, so I don't have any strong feelings about that movie. Now it's part of our Christmas routine because it meant something to her more so than to me. Because Christmas is about spending time with your family, and that's more important. I just think Die Hard is an amazing movie. It's almost flawless. The only thing about it is a wildly regressive movie, but it's also fantastic. It's an excellent film, despite that. I don't hate the live action Grinch. I just feel like the best version of the Grinch is the Boris Karloff cartoon, and like you didn't need to add anything to that. And I don't, as someone who's very sort of hit and miss on Jim Carrey, I think that we don't get a lot added from the adaptation. Mentat Muse, you said you didn't bring it up in my latest vid, but the only time you think you were truly mad at Matt was him mentioning that they never picked up the stealth armor. I mean, like, I think it's just tough because I think he's just like a human being who like is trying to like play along and like riff with his friends. And sometimes when you are the game master, you don't get to do that. And that's a controversial thing to say, and it's going to be something I'll make a whole other video about, but there are times when you say something, it has a lot more weight to it. And I just don't think in that moment he appreciated how impactful it was for him to say, oh, well, might have been good for you to pick up the stealth armor, because it doesn't sound like a friend saying that to another friend, being like, oh, yeah, it's a bummer you're in this situation. There was something you were trying to do about it, but obviously you didn't get a chance. When you're the dungeon master, it kind of sounds like you're telling them that they played wrong, which I absolutely don't think that is what Matt intended. I just don't think he fully, in that scene, internalized the gravity of what he was communicating. Joe the Pirate, you say you like Die Hard 3 more, but you watched that one first. Die Hard 3 is great. That's how I feel about the Indiana Jones movies. I like the third one more, even though the first one is better. Rye Ocean Cat, how's the prep going? Prep is done. So now we're just hanging out. How visible is this? That's very visible. I should not be using this on screen. I gotta get a different water bottle. I don't know why YouTube chat is not showing up on the screen anymore. It's not showing up in multi-chat either. I'm gonna hit refresh chat, see if that works. Yeah, Big Clingy, I think that's a better example, is when he says, this is what identify spells are good for. That is still him able to be an authority and kind of give his players advice, because it's sort of like, yeah, I should just tape something over the logo. Which is him basically saying, hey, for next time. There's not really a next time that Pike can do anything about the stealth armor, right? She's just never going to have stealth armor in the rest of the campaign, and it sucks to suck. So it is sort of like, you can't really do anything with that, so there's not really any meaningful point to bring it up. So, which again, I don't think that Matt realized that was going to not have the vibe that he expected. You know, like you said, it's good-natured. Yeah, why is the chat not showing? YouTube. Why are you not on screen? Corey, you missed the prep session, because you got a chance to play D&D in person for the first time in a year. Glad you're still doing the live, though. Yeah, Corey, this will be available as well as a video on demand, so you can go back and watch the prep. And I'm also going to cut it down. It's going to be part of a video. I'm going to go live a couple more times in the next probably couple weeks, and with other session prep, and sort of steal from those and make it into one video. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, you know what? No, that doesn't make any sense. That's the opposite. Well, Eric, so she was there. She ordered the stealth armor from Gilmore, but I don't really think it was like a major scene. You know, it was sort of like downtime, just sort of general, hey, this is something I want to get done. It wasn't like she had, I don't remember, like a big interaction with Gilmore about it. She may have had. But it was also before she left for Blind Spot. It was a while before that had happened. This has been lovely to listen to while you're typesetting a document to bookbind. I appreciate that. It's nice to hang out. Oh, wait. Yay! It's showing up in my multi-stream. I don't know why it's not showing up on the chat, on the screen, but I am seeing it on the multi-stream chat. So at least I can start responding to YouTube again. Okay. Cool. I don't know. It may just need to be refreshed every once in a while. Favorite unusual creature to have your players encounter? I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, let me look at the monster manual. Let me see. There's something's going to jump out at me. Chat test message. Yeah, the chat. Is it just not updating on the, it's just not YouTube. YouTube is just not going up to the screen for some reason. That's weird and annoying. Okay. Ooh, I opened to Slod. And then Rourke also said, Gray Slod. I have had a lot of experiences with Slod as a player. I don't think I've ever thrown one at a party. I do like whites a lot. I like undead, but I especially like whites. I don't know why. Yeah, Mentat Muse. This is what I was saying in the video is like, this was maybe not the best way to this was not the best time to communicate this information to Ashley. But again, he's a human being. He makes mistakes. And that's okay. I'll throw a Tarask in my party every once in a while. No, I'm totally kidding. For now. Let's see. I do want to do something with Slod at some point in the future. I just haven't. I do love Undead, though. That may be my answer. But you said something odd. Or something like that. You said unusual. Ooh, pardon me. Unusual. I do also like the Crawling Claw a lot. It's very evocative. I always just like that one. I wish I liked Nothics more. They don't excite me as much as I wish they did. I don't know why. It's not like they're boring. They're just not quite. I like Marrow actually a lot. I don't know why. I like Marrow so much more than Sahuagin or more than mermaids. Like, I don't know. Marrow, maybe it's just the art. I just love the art for the Marrow. I think that's maybe why I love them so much. Because they got good art. Medusa. Kuatoa can be fun. Gotta be right. Gotta be the right vibe. But if you got the right vibe, Kuatoa can be fun. I don't think they're quite as much fun for me as Marrow. Although putting them in the same adventure is a lot of fun. Ha! Connor said, I like whites. Mike, don't clip that out. I mean, I love hags. I really, and I have a video planned. I say planned. Someone on Patreon commissioned a video about hags and making deals, and I was like, ooh, yeah, because that's something that I need to figure out how to talk about. So, some point in the next couple months, I'm going to make a video about that. Dwagons? I don't really do much with devils or demons, and a part of me does feel like I'm leaving something on the table. But I think it's just the influence of growing up in a house where I wasn't allowed to watch gargoyles because there was too much magic on the show. So the idea of like watching, like, I have long ago made my peace with, oh, you got jump scared by an ad. I'm sorry to hear that, Zeffy. I've long ago made my peace with the fact that like I am more comfortable with some of the like obvious stuff in this game that would make my parents uncomfortable, like if it comes to magic or gods or whatever, because they're just a little bit more some of those things just are a little less comfortable for them, at least when I was growing up. But they're still like, I'm still kind of like, oh, I'm not quite, maybe that's part of why I just don't use demons or devils that much. Yeah, Big Clingy, I'm planning to time that video around the time they make a deal in the Feywild. That I think the timing of that will be really nice, at least. So. Oh, Zeffy, I'm sorry that it was distracting and loud. Yeah, I did not watch. I mean, like I said, I didn't grow up watching Gargoyles. I've been interested to watch it, just of all the things to watch. I'm scrolling back a little bit. Joe the Pirate, you said you've been checking out some of the React channels I talked about. The only one you were familiar with was Diegesis. I'm glad you're checking out the rest of them. Yes, Kim, you're right. Flea Mortals has some awesome human and goblin artwork. Definitely agree. For those who have not watched, since Set Threshold Low says, weirdly enough, it seems like me being religious makes me better at making fantasy pantheons. Folks, if you have not watched it, go watch Legal Kimchi's video about religion in D&D. I know Ginny D just did a video as well, and her video was good. But Legal Kimchi's video is, let's see. Yeah, an hour and 8 minutes long, and he just really gets into a lot of different ways that you could reimagine religion in D&D, because there are many ways where D&D's version of religion is a little, either it doesn't make sense, or it's not, like, it's not even that it's not internally consistent, although there are times where that, it's just like ahistorical and maybe not necessarily the most reflective of human nature. And so that's the kind of thing that Legal Kimchi really gets into in his video. It's really good. I've been talking to him about it and about doing something that is similarly ties into religion in D&D. And I think today I finally cracked what I want to talk about. Because there's some things that he brings up that I'm like, oh yeah, and also this. And there's other things that he brings up and I'm like, sure, but what about this instead? So I've been talking to him about that on Discord. We've been talking about that. Yeah, I need to do a Gargoyles watch. There's a lot of shows I need to catch up on. Absolutely true. I got a scathing YouTube comment today. Somebody commented on my second Tiberius video and just commented a thumbs down emoji. Very thoughtful critique, very meaningful nuance, something I will carry with me and really think about. We can all do better. When you're thinking about what you're working on, sometimes it's best to remember that someone once commented a thumbs down emoji. So maybe there's something else you should be doing instead. A lot of meaningful contributions there. I was just like, to what? Like, to which part? Like, are you upset about the premise of the video? Where did I... What are you saying? Insomniac, as a hard atheist, having to include religion in your games is always a bit of a challenge. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Yep, I get it. I obviously don't have that same problem. I love creating pantheons. And I'm also not an atheist, but I absolutely understand where you're coming from. Yeah, that's the thing is, Michi, it does help with the engagement. It is algorithm fuel. I mean, that video doesn't need it. It's still one of the most popular videos on my channel. So the Tiberius videos do ridiculously well. Gamercore, hi, welcome. Rourke, gotta thank Tolkien for showing my parents that magic in D&D doesn't negatively impact their religious beliefs because he pulled it off well. C.S. Lewis, also a good one for that. But also, my parents have mellowed about some of that stuff as well. I think, honestly, and this is such a strange thing to compliment. I don't want to compliment J.K. Rowling. I'm just going to say that the initial backlash to Harry Potter, assuming it was satanic, and then people realizing that it was actually pretty tame, and like that actually I think helped a lot with people like getting their walls down a bit when it comes to some of that stuff. And then you also have things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which like has magic and gods, but it's also like very like 1 foot out of it, and which I could take or leave as far as how they actually handle that stuff. But I do think that also helps me sort of handle some of the, Lutheran guilt when it comes to pantheons in D&D. Joe, you said you didn't watch the first 2 campaigns, so you appreciated the Tiberius videos a lot, helps you with backstory, etc. I'm glad. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's why those videos still do as well as they do. Because there's a lot of people, because it's really hard to go back and watch that first episode. Or you go back and you're like, wait, what happened? What's going on? But, Hades Black says, Mike, how do you... First of all, Hades, welcome. I don't think I recognize your name. I'm not seeing the first-time chatter, but welcome. How do you make combat encounters when your players are a glass cannon party? You still have problems trying to balance the challenge rating system versus what my players are playing. I don't use the challenge rating system because I do not think it works. Now, I mean, I should say the challenge rating math they give you doesn't really work. But how do you balance? I think that you just drop the hit points of the things they're fighting. To be completely well, that's not even really the problem, is it? It's you lower the hit points of the bad guys they're fighting, and you lower the amount of damage they do, so that way you're not killing off anything that quickly. Also, I try to make sure that there is often, maybe not always, but often, a non-violent way to solve problems, because I think that's more fun and more interesting. Not always possible, but it should be often possible. And Mr. Kier added on, how do you deal with combat when there aren't many players in a group? For example, they've split up. Same note. you try to focus on non-violent options being available. And if they do get into combat, you just don't have them do as much damage as they normally would, and you don't have them have as many hit points. Or you just say, hey, the monster is the monster, you got to deal with it. Those are kind of the two approaches. And if that's going to be the case, you do a lot of foreshadowing. You make sure they understand the scale of the thing that they're potentially going to be dealing with before they get into crossing blades with it. Probably only going to hang out for probably another 15 minutes because I'm going to need to get some dinner soon. This is a funny comment. Insomniac Gaming Theater. I don't recall you having a video about world maps. Any advice about making/working maps? It's one of the things you struggle with. Well, I don't have any advice currently, but literally today in the mail, I got this from my wish list. Somebody sent this to me. Fantasy Map Maker. Hold on. There we go. Fantasy Map Maker. How to draw RPG cities. Oh, this is the one's the cities one for gamers and fans. But still, it is something that I am working on. So that it doesn't really apply to what you're talking about because I think you're talking about more like world maps. I don't have any advice right now. It's something I want to talk about in the future, but I got to have more of an opinion on it first, or more advice on it first. That's the problem with you folks being on a live stream, is that sometimes if you're like, hey, can you talk about this? My answer is, no, I haven't made a video about that yet because I don't have an answer. Oh, Hades Black, you said sometimes you comment on YouTube, but this is your first time in a live. Oh, welcome. You love how I take into consideration every possible approach when you try to explain something in my videos. Very considerate. Well, thank you. I try, because I am, quite honestly, the kind of YouTuber or the kind of YouTube watcher who, when somebody says something, I will often say, well, but what about the exception? And I will devil's advocate myself into distracting myself. And so that happens when I'm writing too. Sometimes I'll be like, well, but what about the exception to that? And so I find it useful to go down that rabbit hole when I'm writing, because I'm able to then say, okay, well, some people aren't like me and may not have the same kind of games that I have. So, maybe maybe you could do this instead. That's the best idea I have. Obviously, if you're different from me, you may come up with other ideas. All right, I'm going to scroll back a little bit and catch up. Did I ever listen to any of the Cantana philosophical stuff? You love their work, and the voiceover for Raishon is Chef's Kiss. Yeah, they did the Hamilton parody with, not parody. I guess parody. They did the Hamilton-inspired musical about the Chroma Conclave arc. I thought it was excellent. I thought some of the voice acting was stronger than others, but I thought some of it was excellent, and some of the writing choices. There were certain moments where I was like, oh, wow, that was so clever. Like the Raishon, they won, we won moment from their riff on Battle of Yorktown. I love the choice for it to become more about them feeling like they both won and lost. I thought that was terrific work. So, Joe the Pirate, for inexperienced DMs, is it common to alter things for like monster hit points mid-battle if you realize it's unbalanced after a combat begins? Yes, absolutely. That is, there's a limit. There is a point where you should say, it depends on your style. Sometimes your style is, I've already foreshadowed the monster. It's their decision. But as Matt Colville often says, encounter design does not stop when you roll for initiative. Now, there's different philosophies on that. Like, Brendan Lee Mulligan very much feels like he's the good cop and the dice are the bad cop. And once you're in initiative, he's not going to change things. But there are some times where you realize you screwed something up. And, like, you know what? Sometimes it is fine just to drop the number of hit points. I don't think it's the end of the world. Mr. Kerr, how do you make the players understand the need to retreat and against an unbeatable foe? Watch my episode. Watch my video. But, like, I made a whole video about this. Not a whole video. It's a big part of my video, Critical Role Demystified, episode 39, which is about this. It's about how do you make your players run. That is one approach. It's not the perfect approach for every scenario, but it's the best place to look for advice to start. Oh, and somebody already responded, Zeffy, Zeffy already responded with that title, or the link. Mintat Muse saying that we put you on the spot, roll a performance roll, because you are making me have to come up with answers to questions. Okay, people are talking about maps. Oh, yeah. So Owlbear brings up something that I have seen a version of as well, which is rolling dice onto a map and then using those dice to determine locations for things and using the results on the dice to determine what the individual items are. I like that approach. The version that I use is like the dice have too few facings, so you keep getting the same things over and over again. But I would probably work on expanding a version of that at some point. I'll talk about that at some point in the future. Aqua Astra, you're in a bit of a pickle. Your first campaign ever, and your party are all kind of murder hobos. It's a bit rough on my end because I'm technically a kid in the campaign. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I've definitely played in games before where it's tough because sometimes I think a good question to interrogate is, do you not enjoy this style of play, or do you simply feel like your character isn't mapping onto, like, your character feels like they would be out of place? Because if it's your character, then you can either say, okay, how can my character rationalize this to themselves? Is it interesting for them to explore this? Or am I uncomfortable enough with this premise that I just don't want my character to be a part of this, and I'm going to make a new character? Because that might work as well. Like, the answer might be, hey, I don't mind this style of play, but it doesn't really make any sense for this character to keep doing this, so why don't we drop the character off in the next town? They'll go off and do something else and follow some noble quest, and I will make a character who feels like they're a better part of this style. If it's that you just are not enjoying that style of play, that's a different conversation, and that's one you have to have with the fellow players and say, hey, is it that you don't enjoy that we keep going from place to place and we're not spending much time in any individual location? Or is it that we're just always killing and not asking questions? And that's sort of a conversation to have with the Dungeon Master as well, which is, well, we kind of only feel it because the answer almost always when they say, hey, why do you just kill first and never ask questions? Their answer is, well, if we wait, we keep getting murdered by these monsters. That's often what people respond with. So that's sort of a conversation to loop the Dungeon Master in with and be like, well, could there be maybe some scenarios where the answer is, let's solve this with talking, because I think that will help us maybe not always be murder hobos. But it sort of depends on what your concern is coming from, right? Like, which part of it is making you feel like it's not the right fit at the moment, or sort of making you feel like you're in a pickle, in your words. Insomniac, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of videos about dungeon maps and hardly any about world maps or city maps. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in a boat right now with my Shadow Dark games where I do need to just make a world map, even if it's a crude one. And my players aren't going to see it. And I'm sort of also in the same boat of like, well, what should I put on there and where should I put things? And I don't really have a conclusive answer as for world maps at the moment, but I probably will make a video about that at some point in the future. Mentat Muse. What was it called? Some fans basically made a version of Hamilton that was a parody of Hamilton about the Vox Machina Chroma Conclave arc. So it is called Vox Machina, an Exandrian Musical, and it was made by the Cantana Pansophical, and it's on YouTube. Legal Kimchi, welcome. Mr. Steak, welcome. Legal Kimchi, we were talking about you earlier. Your ears must have been burning. We were talking about your religion video. And now you and I were talking about the other religion-related topics that may have to go into their own video. Oh, and I see someone else just commented the same thing. And said, yes, we were talking about you. Rourke, would I ever make a Fantasy High Demystified episode? Yeah, absolutely. I do want to make more Demystifieds about other topics at some point in the future. Have not had a chance to do that yet. My wife was sort of like, well, isn't now the perfect time? And I was like, no, now is not the perfect time. There's a lot of other videos I want to do over the next couple months. But at some point down the road, I absolutely want to do some Fantasy High videos. Gamercore, I didn't realize that. They did a version of Dear Evan Hansen about Tyrion. That's really funny. I did not know about that. I'm seeing a riff on 5 years as well from Bo Burnham. Wow, yeah. I don't know. This definitely went a lot further than I realized. Doty Take This Down, which is their version of Dear Evan Hansen. That's so funny. Wow. Interesting. I did not know about that. Ink Tank Go says, Mike, I really enjoyed your paper treating crafting video. Wish more people were less intimidated to enjoy the crafting and art making side of TTRPGs, especially with the polish and the convenience of digital experiences. Thank you. It's very kind of you. I have more videos coming up in that same series about returning to the table, where some of them will be, I think that's probably the most crafting related video that I'm expecting to do anytime soon. But, you know, there's going to be other ones about handouts or not handouts, about like props or other supplements and things like that. So it's going to be, you know, interesting to see that me try to do more stuff like that. Do I read any fantasy books? I don't read as often as I wish I did, is the answer. Last thing I read, I think, was, what is it called? Lies of Locke Lamora is really good. That's not the last thing I read, but that's the last fantasy thing I read. And I did reread it pretty recently, within the last year, because I was about to read the second book, which I still have not actually done yet. But Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch is like a fantasy heist book that I really enjoyed. Yeah, Aqua, so it's more that the game style is not really vibing for you. That's a bummer. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to try removing the chat box and re-adding it and seeing if that puts the YouTube chat back up. I see Zephy. I see Owlbear. Those are Twitch people. I see Hades. That's Twitch. I don't know why it's not showing YouTube. Yeah, so what Zephy was saying is that some of the Dimension 20s are behind paywalls. Not all of them, but some of them. Yeah, I think it's tough because I definitely want to talk about more actual play show besides Critical Role. I just don't have the bandwidth over the next couple months, and I don't want to try to start that project. And like, what I would want to do, to be completely, this is me, you know, I'm gonna take you behind the curtain a little bit. If I'm gonna do a Dimension 20 campaign, I would want to just go ahead and make the whole thing behind the scenes, and then once it was done, release them all like scheduled. So it'd be like, oh, you're gonna get a new Fantasy High Demystified every 2 weeks or something like that. So if I were to start on that, it means that like I would want all 17 episodes of Fantasy High basically ready, and then I would start releasing them. And just with the baby coming, that is not my priority before May. Like, the goal is not to start videos that are not going to be done anytime soon. So that is a down the road goal. I mean, it's also tough because like it was one of the Patreon goals for once you get more members, but like Patreon took the members goals away. So it's really tough for me to be like, okay, I want to do this. And also I think it would be well received, which means it would be its own reward. And like those videos would probably do really well. I don't quite think I have the bandwidth for them. I want to do that soon. I probably, I don't know. We'll see. I want to do more stuff from other folks like Dropout. I just do not have the opportunity. Rourke, no, for Critical Role, I just do them week by week. You know, they're just like every other video I do. Is I just have them on the schedule, and when I get to them, I get to them. But Dimension 20, the last thing I would want basically is to add another series and get distracted and not be able to finish it. Yeah, Zephy, that's because a lot of the recent stuff, they've only put episode 1 up. If you go back further, more full seasons are up there. Not a lot of the new stuff is. Like they'll usually put episode 1 of something up, and then either they'll eventually take it to YouTube, or it will be it will just be the episode 1 and just go see Dropout for the rest of it. Like, so it would not surprise me if down the road Fantasy High season 3 goes to YouTube in full. It's just not up there right now. But that's because that's how it was for season 1. Season 1, it was like, hey, watch our episode now. There's like 3 more episodes on Dropout. It'll come to YouTube soon. So, Insomniac, do I have any interest in the MCDM system? Yeah, I have interest. I don't know. It's really tough to judge how much interest I have in any system right now because none of them are finished. You know, especially something like MCDM that is so like obviously they were in a good enough place to kickstart it because they have a lot of clear ideas and they have things they want to do. And there are some things they're doing that I think are interesting, and some things where I'm like, well, like literally last night I was thinking about this. I was like, why is their rogue magical? Like, I'm not really a rogue player, so like it doesn't matter that much to me, but it really is just like, oh yeah, like when we were running this game, you know, Lars was really bummed out that we didn't have that his rogue didn't have magic, and I was like, okay, but like what about for people who like rogues being not magic? So, you know, we'll see what the final product ends up looking like. Clearly they're going for something that is more like 4th edition, which I liked. I enjoyed 4th edition. I had a lot of fun with it. So I will be excited to see how that shakes out. And I'll definitely give it a try. I know that Daggerheart just started their big playtest. And so I don't think I'm going to get a chance. I really just don't have the bandwidth to playtest anything right now. But hopefully means we get some more Daggerheart soon, and that'll be exciting. Yeah, again, multi-stream is not showing YouTube. Hi, Zaxter. Hello. All right, refresh multi-stream. In the meantime, let me go to YouTube and answer some questions. Mike, you ever run the Theros setting? I really like the Theros setting. I don't think it's for anybody. I'm going to make a whole video about it in the future. But I think Theros is a setting that is so really, really well done. But also, don't you just kind of want to play in the Greek mythology? Like, don't you just kind of want to do that instead? So it's tough. I really like Theros. I haven't run anything in it yet. I want to. It's tough coming up with like I wish there were more adventures in the Theros setting, you know, which is not really what they do. They don't really release other adventures for their settings like that. But I would like to see what a campaign looks like, because I think there are some assumptions about storytelling expectations that maybe Greek myth doesn't fit with always. Like, you know, there's more hubris and stuff like that. And it would be interesting to see other options there. So I want to talk about Theros at some point. I want to run in Theros at some point. But also part of me is like, isn't Theros just like this weird middle ground of like, it's not quite a fantasy world because it's heavily inspired by Greek myth, but it's also not Greek mythology. I don't know. It's strange. Also, someone brought up a great point in Discord like a year ago. So ages ago, but it's always stuck with me, is like, hey, wouldn't Theros be a great setting for a different system like Fantasy Age? I was like, oh, yeah, maybe. Or even something like the MCDM RPG, maybe. Like, you know, it doesn't have to stick with D&D as we know it. It kind of doesn't necessarily match with D&D as well as it might with other places. So I think Theros is a great product. It's a great book. I wonder who it's for. Clever Chavez, you've always been curious about this. Am I into anime? I've seen Cowboy Bebop, and I've seen a couple of American anime, specifically the Avatar and Korra series. I've not gotten as much into anime as I would like. Joe the Pirate asked, what is everyone's favorite Dimension 20 campaign? Maxone, running your first game in 3 hours. I okayed one of my players being a pregnant halfling, and I'm only just now thinking of how to handle that. Other players are down with it. Said, oh, mechanically. Said she'd take advantage on. She said she'd take disadvantage on all dex related checks, but you have a feeling that she'll get frustrated by that. I mean, use the stats for heavy armor. If she's using, I guess it depends on what she's playing. If she's playing a cleric, you could just give her heavy armor and she would have the exact same disadvantages. Give her the benefits of it. I don't know. I'm not sure. As someone who is currently living with a pregnant person, pregnancy is not the same for everybody. Say that nausea is a factor. Bob Wilder Joe the Pirate says that the Bob World Builder video has you really want to try Daggerheart. Yeah, it does look really good. It looks really interesting. I don't know if it'll be the best system necessarily, but I like what I'm seeing so far. It looks fun. They're going to be doing a one-shot in Daggerheart on the 12th, so you're really looking forward to seeing it in action. That's cool. It's exciting. Have I tried Legend of the Five Rings or 7th Sea? I have not. Those are both on my list. I think Legend of the Five Rings is currently working on a refresh. That I don't know how far along they are, but I know that they've been starting to do some work on it. But I want to check out both of those. Rourke Pathfinder asked, how many Vox Machina books do I have? How Vox Machina Origins books do I have? I think I have all of them. Yeah, I have all of the Vox Machina prequel comics. I have... Where is it? Kith and Kin is somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yep. So I've got Kith and Kin. And I've got... From Mighty Nine, I've got Caleb, Yasha, and the Bright Queen. So I have all of the Vox Machina. Well, I think so, because they've only done 3 volumes that are out in print so far, I believe. Like, collected. And I have all of those. Okay, good. YouTube is showing up on my... I don't know why it's not showing up on the screen anymore. It's frustrating. Have I tried? So we answered that. Need to check out Fantasy Age. Yeah, I know that they've definitely tweaked Fantasy Age since then, and that's why I'm excited to play it. I was talking to some people about playing it, and it just never really happened. Because, you know, the guy who was going to run it was in a hurricane. He's fine, but he was, like, dealing with power and had other things on his plate, and then we just have not connected really since then, so... Andres, you said you want to thank me. I'm running a West Marches campaign at the moment, sort of, and my video was really helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Zephy, your local game store is owned by someone who's actually a writer for L5R and runs a game you're in. Oh, that's fantastic. Michi, which hurricane? Oh, I don't know. This was a while ago. I also would not want to tell you where in the country they were, because that would not be my, that is not my responsibility to tell, to announce that information. Zephy, no, I was going to be in a, Fantasy Age game. We were going to get something together. Even, I think it was just for a one-shot, but didn't end up happening. Auspicious Angel. Thank you so much. Yeah, those Tiberius videos are, I think, very helpful. Hopefully people enjoyed it. Gamercore, I played a few sessions of Light of Zeraxis, and then my schedule got so bad that it killed the game. Would I ever want to run a superhero themed game? Yes, I want to run Masks. I don't have the time to do it right now, but I would love to run Masks. So it seems like for the most part, multi-stream is going really well. If I didn't have to also write a script today, I would just keep streaming. But I do actually have to write a script. Have to write a demystified episode. Have I ever gone to GaryCon? I haven't been to a convention. I've never been to GaryCon. Have I ever been to GaryCon? What other conventions have I been to? I've been to a couple of the PAXs, but I haven't been to any conventions since COVID happened. Just because I don't feel like I'm ready to do that. Just not quite ready for any. I just don't feel like I'm quite ready for a convention. I'm hoping we're back because I'm seeing chats coming in. So hopefully we're back. RP stream, no! No! Hello? Can you hear me? Hello, am I online? Is it just Zephy? Hello? Are these old messages or am I still offline? Not just him. Hello? I just started a new stream. Okay, can people hear me? I'm back. Okay, cool. Okay. Hey, as long as I'm live. I don't know how I'm live. Great time to write a script. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna sign off. Hades asked a great question, and the question was, what is a lesson that I have had to learn? It took me a while to learn. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that because I don't have the answer. Yeah, I'll have to get that some thought. Yeah. You need a lesson for how not to procrastinate your prep for a session until the last minute. I mean, look, I basically have justified my prep by making it into a live stream. So that works for me. That's how I went with it. Both are fixed. Okay, people are online. That's good. Thoughts on making a video about using music during games? Definitely gonna make a video about music during games for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make one. Probably later this year, because it's part of my series about. Yeah, so make a YouTube channel. Exactly. No, to be completely honest, like you find a reason to, either carve out the time, and make it part of your routine, or find some way to trick yourself into finding a way to what was I gonna say? To do the prep, like trick yourself. Hades, I do have a live stream coming up on the 8th as well. So if I don't get to it today, I'm really wondering. Missa, no, I got that comment. I don't know why only the Twitch comments are showing up on screen. That's still frustrating, but I am seeing YouTube comments, so that's good. Andres, yeah, I know you are in that game. Let's see, what else were we talking about? Someone was talking about how to get the ink off of a dice. I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that when we had a playmat in college, you know, the ones that you like, the wet erase that you can write on, and somebody accidentally drew on it with a Sharpie, which always happens. It's inevitable. But this was in college. One of our roommates was a chemical engineer. He was like, I bet you I can get that ink off. We were like, okay. And so when he gave it back to us, there was this like white spot because it had also taken off some of the ink in the mat itself. Like, so they made it look like aged paper, and some of the grid was gone. So it was just a corner of the mat that just didn't have anything on it. I think my friend still has it. It's still a good mat for the most part. Oh my gosh, Auspicious Angel, so many campaigns that have ended early that I regretted. Like, really have been bummed that they ended. I've had two. Well, no, I had one Curse of Strahd. One Tyranny of Dragons campaign I made a lot of mistakes during. And so it went off the rails a number of times in a number of ways. But I really want to get to the end of Tyranny of Dragons, and I had some good characters in that group, and that, you know, it was just a real bummer to lose those. To lose that one. I was in a game we played Curse of Strahd. Then we wrapped up that story, and then we brought those characters back to go into other areas of Ravenloft. This is before the Ravenloft book came out, but then I ended up having a huge falling out with one of the players, and I was just a player, so I don't know if they ever finished up that campaign. I basically told them, hey, go ahead and do what you need to do. But, so I don't know if they ever finished it, but that was a real bummer. But for lots of reasons, right? Like, ending a friendship is a huge bummer, no matter the circumstances. You know, having a friendship not continue. And so, the side effect of that is that I was particularly bummed that storyline did not continue, but that was not the biggest issue that happened there. Those are the two big ones for me. When you've got players who won't talk out their characters' persuasions or deceptions when prompted, offer advantage if they can give a good couple of words, maybe? Yeah, absolutely, bilking. That's exactly right. Or biking. Just say, hey, if you know, what exactly are you going to talk about? You don't have to say exact words. I think that's important to say. It's like, you don't have to give me the exact words, but what are you trying to talk to them about? Like, you know, hey, you want to convince the guard. Are you going to convince them that you are someone other than who you say you are? Are you going to convince them that it's in their best interest to let you in? Like, what's your sort of angle? Prowlers and Rourke the Pathfinder. I have never played Prowlers and Paragons. I don't know what that is. Someone asked about superhero stuff earlier. I'm also interested in Anyone Can Wear the Mask, which is a like 1 to 3 player game. I think including the GM. It could even be single player. That's something I'm gonna do probably at some point down the road, or at least look into. Mr. Dad, do you think a campaign necessarily needs a big bad evil guy? No, but I think the campaign needs clear stakes, and I think the big bad evil guy is the most convenient way to get that. Because basically a big bad evil guy is a very clear objective. It could either, I mean, a big bad evil guy could also be a faction. But, you know, the appeal of a big bad evil guy is, you know, what's coming down the road and your players can sort of prepare for it. It doesn't always need to be the same one at any given time. It's just like something that they can work toward, that they can like see down the road as an objective. That's the most beneficial thing of a big bad evil guy. Like, narratively, it's also extremely helpful because a lot of the narratives that we're borrowing from in fantasy and sci-fi and superhero stories and all those have a big bad evil guy at the end. So it's very convenient for us for those purposes. But It's not the end of the world if you don't have one, but you need. I think it is extremely helpful to have some sort of final goal, or some, yeah, not even final, some sort of clear goal. Big Bad Evil Guys are just a very convenient version of that. Michael Palpatine. Hey Mike, did I sell you a bottled water at the gas station on 6th Street? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, if you did, I probably wouldn't dox myself with that information, but also I don't believe so. Michi, no, I've never finished up that campaign. I do want to. I just have not had the opportunity to do so yet. Per Moonlight Fox, hello. Ken, hello. All right. I am actually going to go ahead and sign off, but this time I'm going to do it on purpose. Yeah, Big Clingy, I could see that. I am way behind on campaign 3, so this is not a commentary on Matt or Critical Role or campaign 3 in any way. I can just say I absolutely understand. I have had a similar problem of not convincing my players that the Big Bad Evil Guy was something they needed to worry about, and I really needed to put the pressure on them in a way that I did not. So, you know, I'm sure I will get to it at some point. I just started maybe watching a little bit more Critical Role campaign 3 because I'm way behind. I'll talk about that some other time. But if you are right that is the problem, definitely going to be a useful lesson when we get to it in the series. Oh, yeah, that's right. We are missing a player tomorrow. That's right. We are missing Simon. I need to make a note of that in my notes. You might want to double check the scheduling of the 40K subscriber stream when I go. It's on the 8th at 5 o'clock, isn't it? No, wait. Yeah, 8th is a Friday, 5 o'clock. Oh, no, I haven't. It's not on YouTube. What you're seeing is because we went down and I tried to go back online. So, that is definitely going to be that'll get cleaned up today. So nothing's up on the YouTube yet. Is it International Women's Day, the day that I'm going up on live? That's funny. Okay. Perfect, folks. Well, multi-stream seems to be a qualified success. I'm gonna pick Megaphone Man's brain because he's done a lot more streaming than I have, and see if he knows why only YouTube is only Twitch is showing up on the screen. But more important than that, I am streaming to both Twitch and YouTube, and I seem to have been for most of the time. And also confirmed, I definitely don't want to do my Baldur's Gate streams until we get the internet figured out. So, which, listen, if it goes down, it goes down. That's not the end of the world. But we have been having some, this is actually, almost no one else is home right now. And so it's going to be a lot worse other times that I try to stream when people are, at home and, working during a weekday. So I'm going to do more streams soon. But I want to start streaming Baldur's Gate probably next week, maybe, hopefully. I'd like to. But in the meantime, glad you enjoyed. This is going to be a video later this month. And I'm going to go eat some food. This is my sign-off. Here we go. Signing off.